we're going to get started here. And it's strange that it's just going to be the two of us here, but we can make do with that.
That's okay.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but today we our training sessions and our meetings actually live stream to YouTube. Did you know that?
I've recently learned that. Yes.
So
which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So right now we are actually. I do have the stream going. It's not picking up off the camera. What it's doing is it's picking up my desktop screen right now.
Okay, cool.
But if you go to YouTube and do a search for KW Perimeter, oh, wrong place. Peachtree Road.
Yeah.
I go all over the place all the time. Peachtree Road. There we go. You can see here. It says live right now, but it should change the name. Let's see. Whoa, it didn't change it. I'll have to go back and change that later. Uh-oh. But it should be us. There we are, and there I am demonstrating the YouTube channel to you right now. And but what's neat is if you go in and subscribe right here, if you go and find it, then it'll alert you whenever the cameras are rolling.
Oh, wow.
So if we're in a team meeting or a training class or something along those lines, you can get notified, and that's pretty exciting to know what's going on.
Absolutely.
It also records everything and creates a library. So if you miss a meeting or miss a class that they've recorded, you can check it out on demand.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
So, but as you know, my name is Scott Hardy, and hey, come on in.
Hey.
You haven't missed anything. We're just getting started. I was just introducing everybody. Everybody, I'm Scott Hardy.
Hey guys, everybody. How's it going? Thanks for having me in here.
And, the way I fit into the organization is I am the Director of Technology for the Rawls Group.
Okay.
And on a daily basis, I focus on, turn my volume off of my phone here. I focus on the laundry list of IT needs for the organization, whether that's desktops and servers and networks and security and software and backups and things like that. And I do it for all 6 of our locations. That's here in Peachtree Road, but also in Dunwoody and Brookhaven, where we're in Brookhaven now, Buckhead and Douglasville and Cityside, Sandy Springs.
Good.
I can be at any place at any time. It's kind of crazy, you know. So, but that's one chunk of my time. But the other chunk of my time I spend working with associates with the KW products. And there's a variety of ways that you can engage with me. We'll talk about those today in just a minute. But one way is that I'll come in and do a class and talk about particular KW products. And that's what, of course, brought me here today, is to talk to y'all about the Placester websites. I'm curious, do y'all have access to your Placester website already? Have you played with it at all or looked at it?
Right now, it's been saying to remind me to set up my website for every single time.
You are in the perfect place today, then.
Okay. That helps.
I think I'm in the same place too.
Same place.
You think you set it up and then it's not set up.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to the bottom of that today.
Okay,
that's the point of today's class, is
Cool.
to get things launched, get things set up so you have a good basis and understanding of how the website works. And the idea is that you leave here today with some progress on your website, something that you can be ready to show to somebody, you know, and have some pride in it.
Yes.
So again, I'm Scott. Of course, this is Angela, and I don't think I've caught your name.
No, Felipe.
Felipe.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Felipe.
Good to
Nice
meet you.
to meet you. I don't know if you know
Thank
Angela yet. but
Hey,
y'all are-
Angela, how's it going?
Co-workers
Fairly new
there.
to Killer Williams, by
Are
the
ya?
way. Yes.
Okay.
So I've been here maybe a month.
Yeah, me
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, there you go. A month part time, so that means a week. You know?
Right.
Are you new to real estate or new to
I'm
company?
new to real estate.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What kind of background did you have before real estate?
So I do sales. Actually, will still work over at Louis Vuitton here at Lenox Square.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been doing that and for the past 3 years.
Very
Yeah,
good.
but my dad's a real estate agent, and I've always, shadowed him and always, kind of looked at him as a mentor, and I was like, okay, I got to get into it.
Awesome.
Uh-huh.
Well, we're glad you're here today.
Thank you. Thank
And,
you. I
hopefully
appreciate
we
it.
can make use of our time here. So, so before we get into the website stuff, though, I want to introduce to y'all this webpage here. I'm wondering, would y'all prefer the lights out? Would that help if we dim the lights?
Sure.
Yeah. May look a little bit better.
Okay.
Oh, that was a little bit of a dim. Hey, I think that does look better.
That's good.
So this is my web address, rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com, and I like to spend just a minute showing this website. And the reason is because, you can call me, you can text me, you can email me, but it's difficult for me to return all those one-to-one contacts.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get to me through my website, this is the most efficient way to get help if you need tech support in the office, or if you have a tech question, or if you need assistance with a KW product. Going through my website, I've got a team of people that monitor activity here, and it's a lot faster if you go through. And here's a couple of things I want to share with you. One is at rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com. One thing you can do is you can see I've got this big button here that says create a help desk ticket. And if you click through there, you've probably created a help desk ticket at some point in your life. Pretty straightforward process, right? You fill out this simple little form here, ask them about who you are, contact information, categorizing what kind of help you might need. Do your best to answer those questions. If you get the priority or category wrong, it's not a big deal. We'll adjust those for you. But here's what happens. You fill out the message, submit the ticket, and what will happen is we will receive that ticket, and we answer tickets not in the order that we receive them, but we rank every ticket in terms of severity, and we answer the bigger problems first. So, for example, if you open up a ticket saying, hey, I can't print to my favorite printer right outside my office, but yet I can print anywhere else, then, of course, we'll take that as a ticket, and we'll work on it at some point as soon as we can. But, Angela, if you open a ticket and say, nobody on the main side can print to any of the printers anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, it's a bigger deal, right? And I got to deal with that. And that's just basic help desk logic. Most people understand that. But it is a fair question. While I'm going to solve the big problem first, when am I going to get to this other problem, the smaller problem? And we started thinking about that, and that's where we came up with this idea. Next to creating a help desk ticket, you could, alternatively, you can also, if you choose, to create or book a remote tech session. And if you click through there, you'll see there's a couple calendars here. There's Chris Scroggs, he's one of my associate techs. And then there's me, Scott Hardy. And if you click through here, you can see his calendar or my calendar. Now I get pretty filled up the current week, at least 1 week out. But if we advance, you can see there we go. There's some availability. So the green tiles are my availability. And this is a real simple process. If you were to pick, for example, Wednesday here at 1 p.m., another basic little form to fill out. Contact information, and then choose whether you want a 30-minute or 1 hour tech session. Give me a description here, and now when you hit confirm booking, there's no more guesswork. You know your schedule, but now you know mine too, right? So you know exactly at 1 o'clock, October 24th, I want to give you a call. So now you don't have to wonder when you're going to get help with that special need that you got, And so I really like these appointments. I've gotten great feedback on them. During the appointment, you just need to be connected to the internet. So what we'll do is call you at the designated time, and we take over your computer, take over a Mac or take over a Windows computer. Can't take over an iPad, but we can remote control computers and Macs. And I'll be on the internet, and so we can talk and collaborate on your screen during the appointment. And you could be anywhere. You could be at the office. You could be at home. A lot of times I'm on a hot spot in my truck on the side of the road, or behind in the shade behind a store or something in a parking lot, Sometimes for hours, actually. People want to know, where's your office? Yeah. And I'm like, well, I'm wherever the dumpster fire is at whatever Keller Williams, or I'm in between, or teach a class pretty much. So, but I have a steering wheel desk. Have you ever seen a steering wheel desk before?
No.
Look, if you spend as much time in your vehicle as I do, this was a game changer for me. I used to get all kinds of neck aches and things in my back and headaches because I would twist and try to hold my computer for a conversation. But look at this, on Amazon for like 30 or 40 bucks you can get one of these little desks, and they're nice and thin. I just slip mine in the mat pocket behind the passenger seat. And then when the time comes, whether it's scheduled or even if somebody calls me and says, hey, can you help me? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pull over for a minute. And I'll pull over and slap that on my steering wheel, put my laptop on it, go to town, and I can clock hours easily, especially in weather like this. I'll roll my windows down and get a cross breeze going on. I've got my Bluetooth on, and people are like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm not even going to tell you where I'm at. You wouldn't believe it if I told you. So anyway, those things are good. I like to share that right there. A couple reasons why I like showing you how to book a remote tech session. One, I think it's an awesome service. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no limit to the number of appointments you can get. I mean, if you fill my calendar up, I'm going to call you and say, let's reel that in, spread it out some, be fair to everybody else. But like I said, it doesn't cost anything. It's effective. We can solve most issues. That's one reason. Another reason, though, is because as we talk about today's topic and get into the details of the website, there's only so much time we have available. And at some point on a certain topic, I may say, that's as far as we're going to go on that. If you want to go further, it'd be a great example of getting on my calendar, go book a remote session, and now you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about right here. Go to rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com and punch the button to get a ticket going. I mean, not a ticket, a tech session going, and then we can work on your thing, And with that in mind, I'll tell you that not only are booking tech sessions good to deep dive on a certain topic, but I've got time after class where I budget about 45 minutes to an hour afterwards to make myself available and work in like a workshop mode. So if there's something I don't cover today, or if you got a question, maybe you ask during the class and I say, hey, let's hold that to the end. There is time at the end. We can work on special things if need be. So really, it's important that you leave here today with a sense of accomplishment on your website. So a couple more things on my webpage I'll show you that I think is helpful is at the very top up here, I've got Rawls Group Training. And if you click on training events here, you can see my training calendar, and I do a pretty good job of keeping this up to date, so you can always see where and what I'm teaching. These pretty much always occur at a Rawls Group office. You're welcome to attend any of these. You can just walk on in. You don't have to sign up. Rarely get to sign up. If you have to sign up, it'll say so, but you generally do not. Here we are today at Peachtree Road, in fact, doing the Placester site. And then I'll be back at Perimeter doing the Placester site again on the 30th, which is not that far from here. And one reason why this is helpful is I find a lot of times people get to the class today and find out this class goes from 1 to 4. Did y'all know that?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people are like, what? It goes 1 to 4? I only got an hour to stay here, you know? Or somebody knows it goes to 4, you get a call at 2 o'clock, like you got to talk to somebody and you step out, whatever. And this is what I would tell you. If for some reason you don't make it till 4 o'clock, if you left here, let's say at 2:30 today, well, you could go find one of these appointments here, one of these classes, and show up around 2:30 and pick up right where you left off. I do a pretty good job of keeping everything very consistent, so you're welcome to do that. And then the last thing I would show you, back on my main page, on the landing page, below the ticket and the tech session, are these 2 videos. One's a slideshow, and one's a video. It's this video right here. This Placester website setup video, I've gotten great feedback on this too. If you click through it, it is today's class. It's everything we're going to cover today is captured in a video that's been edited and condensed for time. It's about a 3-hour video. One of the things I love about it is that I was able to create a table of contents. So you could watch this from start to finish and get the whole entire content today. Or you could pick a certain topic, like maybe for example, you wanted to review the IDX setup section. That's one of the first things we'll cover, and by the end of the day, maybe it gets lost in the shuffle. You could easily come back and watch that section. If you click on that link, it'll cue the video. If you press play, it'll start right where I begin that topic. So I've had people tell me, hey, I've actually watched this video start to finish. It never had to get help, never had to get go to class. I built my whole website, and I'm good to go. And I've had other people say it's a great resource because there's a lot of material, a lot of information. It's good to have some access 24/7 on demand to get refresh. So that's Rawls Group Help Desk. I'm going to show you right now. We'll go back to the site several times today and pull some other resources as we start building our website. But I just wanted to get a sense of how the help desk works and get exposed to that. Have y'all seen this website before, Rawls Group Help Desk, or is this the first time?
For me, it's the first time.
First time.
Yeah.
I like to try and get the word out. Like, this is how you get to the help desk. So let me switch gears and show you the Placester website. This is the system that we're going to be working on. I'm going to show you mine. So what I've got up on the screen here, this is my demo site. I'm not a sales guy. I'm 100% technical, so I've never sold a house other than my own once or twice, but not for a business. And so what I've got here is I've got one of 8 different templates that are available. We'll talk about the different templates today. And I've embraced a fictitious business of selling cabins. I just had to come up with something. I had to imagine, what would I be doing if I was an agent? Maybe I'd be a cabin guy. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But in this world, I'm the cabin guy. So, because I love the mountains and I love cabins. And, why not? So I have dressed my site up with the geography, niche, and value system of selling cabins. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a tour of my site, basically the landing page here. We're going to go through the different components of what we're going to be doing today so you get a sense of what we're going to be doing to your site. So at the very top of the template here, you've got social media badging, and we'll get control over those things. Right now, I've got mine set to go to Keller Williams targets, and I'll explain that here in a bit once we get into that topic. But right now, mine goes to Keller Williams Facebook. And you'll have that option to connect it to Keller Williams as well, or to your own Facebook or YouTube. There's about half a dozen or so social media badges that are available. I've just got 4 set up, and we'll learn how to get control over those today. We'll also get control over this top banner area here, which includes some branding and contact information. You can probably guess where I taught the class last. Wasn't here, it was in Buckhead, right? So we'll get control over this logo here. This is an important logo. Every market center has a logo that's built very similar to this. These are GREC compliant logos, and there's some compliance issues we're going to make sure that we adhere to. And so we'll learn today how to get control over this logo so that you're in compliance. And there's some branding with taglines and statements about our website and naming our website. We'll get control over these areas as well. I just chose to embrace my affordablegeorgiacabins.com branding. We'll talk about how that works. We'll also get control over on the right-hand side, I've got, if you brought your photo today, you'll learn how to get your photo up in there. And I've got my contact information, so you get control over how people see to contact you. Moving down the page, we also have here a property search. You can see that right in the middle there, where it asks for inner city, zip, neighborhood address, this little search bar. I'm sure you can imagine how this works, right? You put in criteria and you hit search, and what are you going to see? Well, you're going to see listings, right? The question is, though, where are those listings going to come from? We're going to get control of this property search. We're going to tie it into a listing database. We're going to tie it into either FMLS, right, or Georgia MLS, or even KWLS is an option that you have. Have you heard of KWLS? Keller Williams Listing System, right? Keller Williams has its own database of inventory. And we'll talk about that and how it works in terms of this property search. And we'll get down to configuring our search or connecting our website to the correct database. One thing I'll point out about this search, though, that you should know is that it is an IDX search. Have you heard that term before, IDX? This is an important technology term for an agent who's got a web presence. So here it is. IDX is a protocol. It's a piece of software that allows you as a professional associate, sales associate, to present property search on your web presence, whether it's your website. It could be your website. It could be your mobile property search app. You may have that on your phone already, like where you can search the listings. That is an IDX search tool. And what distinguishes an IDX search from a regular search is that IDX will tap into the database. It'll pull the listings based on the search criteria, and it shows all the public comments, the photos, the descriptions, the price, everything that you would expect, except for one piece of information. In an IDX search result, one piece of information is stripped away and is replaced with your contact info. That would be the agent's,
yes,
right? The listing agent's contact info is stripped out, which is a great advantage for you, because by taking the listing agent's contact info out and putting yours in, it now gives you the opportunity to be a buyer's agent, right?
Right.
You follow that so far? So that's the characteristic, the main characteristic of an IDX search. And so on my website, my IDX search is tuned to me. It identifies me. On your website, your IDX search will be tuned to you. So you could do the same property search on both our websites, see the same listings, but my name would come up on my site, your name would come up on your site, right? Same thing with you. Yes,
so what you mean is, let's say you go to a property,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or you type in this zip code that
Mm-hmm.
client likes the property.
Sure.
You click on it, then from there it's going to be your contact information
Yes,
attached to it.
absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, which is awesome, right? So I could be
Yeah.
driving down the road and I could get a phone call. Hey, y'all, come on in if you want to.
We just taking a little tour.
Oh, okay, we're building
Hey.
websites today, building our agent website. So we're talking about IDX property searches right now. So I could be driving down the road and I could get a phone call and somebody may say, hey, I was just at affordablegeorgiacabins.com, which is my web address. And I was looking at listings. There's a condo in Buckhead I just saw. I love it. I'd like to see it. What can you tell me about it? And I need to train my brain at that point to realize, oh,
yeah.
cool, my IDX just went to work for me. And I go into a buyer script, right? Buyer script with them. I've actually had somebody before call me and say, hey, Scott, something is wrong with my website. I'm getting calls about listings that aren't even mine. Right? And I was like, this is great news. You know? And I said, so how's that going? You know, and he actually was giving the calls to the agent on duty. Because he's like, I don't even know anything about this. He was intimidated by the fact, I guess, he didn't know anything about the listing. He didn't have the scripts ready.
Right.
Because there's a way to handle it. And if you're not prepared, you're going to kind of maybe fumble a little bit, you know. But I said, oh, no, man, that's what you want. You want people calling you about listings that aren't yours, you know. And I could tell, too, he was a little spooked. He said, well, so the listing agent's okay with that? I said, yes, we all agree. Yeah. All the competitive brokers, we all agree to put our, listings in the pool and share them in that fashion, you know. So your listings will show up on a competitor's site with your name taken out as well. You know, it works both ways. But still, it's a great product, right? So IDX is super important. And I find a lot of associates, especially new associates, don't understand what IDX is. They've maybe heard of it, but don't get what I just said, you know. So your mobile property search app on your phone, it's IDX as well. So same principle, right? So we will learn today how to get control over this listing search, connect it to the correct database. In fact, I'll slide down below this image. We'll talk about that in a second. There's featured properties. Here's my property showcase, if you will. This is also IDX powered. You can tell right now, look, you can guess, obviously, what database my website is connected to. Big giveaway right there, right? You know that I've connected mine to FMLS. And if I were to look at this listing here, Oakley Ridge Circle, this is an example of what the presentation would look like to the consumer. All the public information, the photos, just like we talked about, the price, the description. But if they come down here and if they engage in this get in touch call to action and fill out this form and submit it, it's going to go to me, not to the listing agent. And the only contact information they're going to find is mine up here, which we have control over. We're going to learn early in there how to get control over that. So that's how it all kind of ties together, right? So we have a property search and we have featured properties that are powered by IDX. For featured properties, we're going to get control over what listings show up. You can see I've purposely tuned mine up for cabins, right? It's consistent with my niche and my theme. And so we'll go through two different scenarios today to help you get control over the featured properties that are showing up on your website. Scenario number one will be that we'll go through the configuration with an idea that you don't have inventory yet and you need to get listings that are not yours showing, because just like I've done here, these are not my listings obviously. But if you want to get listings that match your geography and your price point and your niche that represent your business, we'll learn how to do that. And then scenario number two would be if you have inventory. At some point, you're going to want to put your inventory up there. So we'll walk through that as well. What do you do to get your inventory, a specific inventory?
Do you put them in the feature there?
Yeah, you can put your listing. So when you get a listing, you can actually add it, push pin it to the showcase there.
Okay.
So we'll go through both of those scenarios so you get control over that. Behind our property search is what they call a slideshow. And that's where I've got a custom slideshow. And you may be wondering why they call it a slideshow. It's just an image. And the reason they call it slideshow is because by default, normally you have a slideshow that's sliding back here. I've just been in line and played around and I shut my slideshow down. Instead of having multiple images, I just like the way one image looked and just I made a one slide slideshow. But by default, the Placester sites feature a variety of slideshows that are built in that you can choose from. They all consist of up to 5 different images that are provided by Placester, and you can get control of it. You can use the existing template slideshows that they give you, or you can go and you can build your own slideshow, and you can do like I did where you have 1 picture in there, or you can do up to 5 pictures. So we'll get control over that and gain an understanding of photos and adding photos and how to control it in our website today. Y'all with me so far?
Yes.
Moving on down the page, there is a blog component. Now, honestly, for blogs, I consider that really more about content and getting optimization of your website. Today's focus is really about launching. So we're not going to get into blogs as a topic, but I will show you that you do get 4 complimentary blog posts that start out your blog content on your website. If we have time, I may show you where you can add a new blog. Usually we don't have enough time to get into that. If that's something that's specific for you today, let me know towards the end and we can maybe talk about it. I do offer another class that's more focused on content and how to optimize content, and it covers the blogging component a little bit more in depth. So for today, though, we'll acknowledge that yes, there's a blog component. Everybody, what I'll tell you about it right now is everybody in the organization starts out with these exact same 4 posts.
Gotcha.
So when you think about blogging, one of the keys to blogging is you want to be original. You know, excuse me, my throat. But this is counterproductive to that initiative of being original when 180-something thousand agents have the same 4 blog posts. But it is very well done. It's beautiful. It's pretty. And you can add to it if you wish. You can delete these if you wish. Maybe I'll talk about that today. Moving down the page, we've got additional call to actions and reinforcing my brand. We'll learn how to get control over all that. It's all kind of one piece. And then we also have an area where we can get in our certification badges. There's a gallery of badges that we can pick through. I've got Equal Housing Opportunity and National Association of Realtor. Everybody should be able to get that. But there's some additional badges that if you've got that designation, you can add it in. We'll talk about that as well. And then towards the bottom, in my footer of the page, it just reinforces my contact information and my brand affiliation. You can see we've also got some social media badging. There is some compliance involved with this particular footer, so we're going to make sure that we cover the information so that we're compliant against the correct requirements. We'll talk about that as well. Those are the main parts of the, so we also have this menu here. We'll get control over this menu. They start you out with complimentary buttons. And you can add to the buttons, you can modify them. If there's something you don't like, you can take them out. We'll get control over these buttons today, in the sense that we'll edit some of the buttons, and then we'll also add a couple new ones. Actually, there's an example of the 2 buttons we'll add. A free mobile download, which actually brings us to the download page for the mobile app.
Cool.
One of the most common questions I get about the mobile app is, hey, how do I share it with somebody?
Right.
You know, you can share it with the in-app tool, but if you had a link somewhere, such as your website, how convenient is that? So we'll add that today, and we'll also add a video update, which is a link to this month of real estate, which automatically updates each month. And this will give you some experience. I must have the volume turned off right now, but that'll give you some experience with adding content to your menu. So we'll talk about that as well. Now, something else about the website that's not as obvious, but is definitely worth mentioning, is the fact that these are mobile responsive websites. I don't know if you've heard that terminology or not, but I can tell you, if you speak to a web developer for any amount of time about building a website, that question will come up. Does it need to be mobile responsive? And in today's age, it does. And what we mean by mobile responsive is that the website is basically universal in terms of what platform it'll work on. It'll work on a phone, it'll work on a tablet, it'll work on a computer. So right now, we're on a desktop, right? There's a computer that's sent into the TVs, and the site is sophisticated enough to recognize the aspect ratio, the width and the height that's being displayed is characteristic of a computer. So the layout, all the objects and everything have been optimized for a computer. But if I visit this site on a phone or a tablet, everything changes. That is mobile responsive. Watch this. If I simulate the change, I broke down the window here. Now I've got the width and the height that's similar to like a phone, right? I've tricked the system because it's sensing the width and the height, and it goes, okay, now it feels like I'm on a phone, even though he's really not. But look what happened to the page. It changed, right? It rebuilt the page. It dynamically responded. You can see our menu is now collapsed. My branding information is gone, but if I click on the menu here, of course, there we go. There's my branding, my social media. It just reorganized the site, optimized it for mobile. All the components are physically present and working, right? Our property search and our picture even looks a little bit better. You can see more of it. Featured properties that used to be in a row are now shown as a column. Right, so they're still there and functional. One person pointed out, I noticed too, that she says the images are actually larger on the mobile version. And I was like, yeah, actually you're right. You know, that makes sense, right? Because on the phone it makes sense to have bigger images. It's been optimized for the mobile experience. And if the screen was a little bit wider, I could simulate a tablet, kind of maybe like that right there. Let's see, how about right there? This is sort of the width of a tablet. You can see it still rebuilds the page as a mobile version, but this is the tablet form where now you got some columns. Things are starting to stretch out a little bit. It added some more components in there, but it's not quite the full experience as the desktop view, which if I just bring it back out there to see it snap, now I've got the width and the height that's sufficient enough to trigger desktop mode. There's 2 reasons why this is important. One, have you ever been on a website that's not mobile responsive? Right? What kind of experience is that? It's
on your phone, it's just all over the place.
Yeah.
right. So if you're on your phone, you're pinching and zooming and panning around with your finger and trying to tap on links and stuff. You know, it's a miserable experience. Ultimately, what do you end up doing?
You basically leave.
You basically leave, right?
Yeah.
Which is the absolute opposite effect of what we want for people coming to our website. You don't want something that's going to trigger them to leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a great segue to reason number 2 why mobile responsiveness is so important. And it comes to Google. Google knows that more and more people are using mobile devices to surf the web. And so when you think about how Google works, Google, it basically searches the entire internet, finds every website it can. I mean, it's an incredibly ambitious initiative for Google to do this, but it does it day in and day out, finds every web page and tries to catalog the page, tries to figure out what the page is about, puts it in an index. And then when you come along to Google and say, show me pages about cars for sale in Atlanta, Google says, oh yeah, I've got a whole database of websites. Here's a list of cars for sale in Atlanta, and I've ranked them in terms of relevance, the most important website in descending order, right? That's what Google does. And Google has to protect that experience, because if people stop liking what happens at Google, they stop using Google. So now Google knows that more and more people are using mobile sites, right? And so part of that check process when it's trying to figure out what your web page is about is it challenges it to see if it's mobile responsive. And if it passes the mobile responsive test, it pushes your site up higher in the Google ranks.
Oh, wow.
But if it fails, then it considers the site broken and it pushes it lower, right? Because Google doesn't want to serve pages that people don't like and that people back out of or bounce out of, right? I heard an interesting statistic too. You've probably heard this part, which is that I think like an upper 85% or more of tomorrow's home buyer or today's home buyer is using the internet to find their home, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody kind of knows that stat. But what I recently heard was a piggyback onto that, where somebody was saying of that 80%, 90 or so percent of those people finding their home online are using a mobile device to find their home online. And I was thinking about my house that I live in today. First time I ever saw it was on my phone. You know, I was like, wow, that is so true. So mobile is really important. We want to make sure mobile responsiveness is a part of our web presence, and Placester has baked that into the code here. It's a done deal. Our other website systems we had before Placester, the e-agency system, the e-edge system, were not mobile responsive. You could pay $1,500 for an upgrade to make it mobile. That would be the e-agency site. And people were doing that left and right back in the day. But now that we have Placester and it's just built in, it's great. I think that's really worth mentioning. You know, it's an awesome add-in for the website, adds value to it. So what do y'all think about the website so far and what you've seen? Pretty good?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Good, I'm glad. I'm excited too. You know, they're WordPress sites, so that gives it that modern look. It looks fresh, you know, to a trained eye or to an untrained eye, you know, yeah, at least it looks current, you know. And so I think that gives it sort of some fresh look. So anyway.
Actually, I got one question.
You have one question?
So the tab where you put affordable Georgia cabins.
Up here at the very top?
Not or well the
or
the URL. Yeah, there you go. Are we able to create our own URL?
Yes, you are. Okay. So I will do my best to get into that in some detail today. I do that. I actually have a website domain class, and we get into the full nuts and bolts of how to pick out a domain, how to configure it, the mechanics of it. So as time allows today, I will try to talk about that and show it. There will be some discussion on it, but I probably will not demonstrate how to connect it to GoDaddy. But afterwards, if that's something that's like, if you have a domain, you're ready to go and you need it connected, we can definitely get you connected before you leave today.
Okay.
Right? So.
Could you deal with multiple domains or multiple?
You can have multiple domains that point to the template. There's two different types of ways to set up the domain. You can CNAME it, which is a more formal registration, and it's a technique that improves Google searchability in terms of setting up the relationship of your domain name and your template and authorizing it as part of your identity. You can only do one domain to that level, but then other domains that you buy, you can do a basic forwarding. So you can establish one as sort of like the foundation of your web presence, you know, and then if you have multiple additional domains, you can forward them to the parent domain. So yeah, at the end of the day, you can get the results you want, but it does require some thought process to figure out sort of the hierarchy of your online presence.
Sure.
You know, and that's why I do a whole class on it, because it's a can of worms.
Yeah,
it is. But and that's another example too of getting on my schedule. That's a perfect example. Get on my calendar, book 30 minutes or an hour, and we can dig in, you know, and have a custom conversation for you on how to build your domain, choose a domain. All right, so let's talk about how to get your website working and set up. The first thing you'll have to do is you will need to get into mykw.kw.com. So hopefully this is familiar. You recognize where I'm at. If you don't have access to mykw.kw.com, it's going to be a bit of a problem today. Man, I hope I can remember my password. I think that's it. Oh no. Maybe that's it. There we go.
Sorry, what's the Wi-Fi you guys are using?
So the Wi-Fi here is, I'll pull it up for us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Get it off of Rawls Group Help Desk right here. So for Peachtree Road, it's going to be the 404-419-3503 is the key. And you'll see two networks. One will be called KW271, and this is a little out of date. You'll also see KW271-5G. If you see the 5G connection, that's generally a faster connection. If all you see is KW271, then you'll have to connect to that one. Is that making sense?
Well, you know, I was looking for that one, but I can't find it.
Let me see something real quick.
And I've logged into that one before here.
Come down. Oh no, that's really strange.
Right.
Let me take a closer look real quick.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah.
Maybe it should I refresh it? No, but it's.
Yeah, I was thinking along those lines too. Just refresh it. What is the deal? Why come we don't have?
Yeah, it's weird. But I've connected before. That's why when I was here, never been to this part of the building.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe it's a different one.
Well, and I just pulled my laptop out a minute ago and connected, and it was available. So that is
Let me see what's available in my lap.
really strange.
Yeah, it's not in my phone. Oh, yeah, it is in my phone.
I don't know
Should we
what's
start it?
I don't know what's going on with that, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just patch you in real quick.
Oh, thank you.
Where side is it on? Other side?
It could be in the back.
Oh, I saw it just a second ago. Ah, there it is.
Bend it.
A little bit of pressure on the front so I can push it in. There you go.
There we go.
That will get us. That'll buy us some time for sure.
Thank you.
We'll figure that out. I don't know what's going on, but we'll try to keep on track here. All right. Are you connected, Angela?
Yes.
Terrific. So we want to be logged in here. Hopefully everybody recognizes where I am, which is mykw.kw.com. If you don't have access to this page yet, you'll need to see your agent services, Kayla or Alexis or Aaron Lopez. And the work to be done is to get into the control panel for our website. It's found up here at the very top in this black horizontal bar. Find technology. Don't click on technology. That'll, if you click on it, it'll send you off to another section. But if you find technology and hover, you should see a pull down for different options, including KW websites. And that's where we want to be clicking on. So I'm going to click on mine now. And that'll take you to this portal right here. And one thing that came to mind is, Angela, I think you were showing me that you get a pop-up every time you
Yes.
log in.
Yeah.
There should be a checkbox on that pop-up that says "Don't show me again." You go ahead and hit the checkbox and then hit the yellow close at the top, and then it won't constantly pop up and bother you because now you know how to get here. You go up to technology,
Okay.
and then hit the KW website, so you don't need the annoying pop-up anymore,
Yes.
right? So you can go ahead and suppress that next time you see it. This is the dashboard. Excuse me. This is the portal for the Placester system. Hopefully, everybody following along has the same information on their page that I do. Basically, that says your new website is ready, and then go to my website. If you see something different, it may say it's not ready, it's being created, come back in 7 days or something like that. Let me know. But if otherwise you have the same thing I do, which is go to my website, and we can go ahead and click on that, and it should bring us into the dashboard for Placester. I get a lot of calls from people saying, hey, I am trying to log into my Placester and my username and my password is not working. Can you help me out? And what I find is a lot of times people are going to Placester.com and trying to log in. It's important to know you can't do that. Not with our product. Our product is a Placester product, but it's a special Keller Williams licensed, rebranded product, right? So you have to do what I just did here. Go to MyKW, work your way into the dashboard through those steps I just showed you. So here is the dashboard for our websites. Now what I've done for the purpose of the class is I've actually got two websites here. If we look, I've got Affordable Georgia Cabins, and this is the one I just finished showing off a minute ago. And then I've got another one which is completely blank. And that's the one I'm going to be working with today. So you can see what it looks like starting from scratch, and we're going to just build the page up together. And so depending on where you are, if you've been playing around with your website a little bit, trying to figure it out, or if somebody's been helping you, your screen may look exactly like mine does right now if it's brand new and you've done nothing. But if you've done some things, it may look a little different. So look for this for me. Look for where it says Quick Actions and see, do you have the option to launch your site? See right here where mine says View Live Site, Edit Site. In this area, if it says Launch Site, go ahead and click on Launch Site right now. But if, like me, it just says Edit Site and you don't have the option to launch, then just go ahead and click on Edit Site. And that'll bring you to this page. Did anybody just launch their site, or were you already launched? Already launched? Okay. So if everybody was already launched, then we should all be together on the same page right here, right? And this is the heart of the matter. This is where we're going to be spending most of our time today. We'll go ahead and bring this up and zoom it in so we can all see it very well. And here's how I want to spend our time. So questions are great. I appreciate the questions you guys have had so far. And what I want to do, though, is hold off on questions until I ask one, because we've got a lot of material. And usually I do a pretty good job of covering it. And what we'll do is we will cover like this listing section here first. We'll get through all this, IDX integration, global filters, feature listings, and then we'll stop for a second to see if anybody's got any questions. A lot of times with a lot of people in the room, questions are just derail us. Next thing you know, it's 4 o'clock and we're out of here and we missed a lot of content. I don't think it's really going to be a problem here. But I would ask, just let's get to that section, and then if you got some questions or somebody didn't cover, let's hear it. It could be something that's really good for the room. You know, if somebody told me once, if you want to master something, teach it, because it forces you to consider and address the areas that I personally am not interested in. It's interesting, you know, the way that works. And so a lot of times people ask great questions, and we may entertain that together, or I may say, hey, that's really one-on-one stuff. It's something that's unique for you. Let's talk after class. But then once we get through the listing section, then we'll spend time working through the site design, theme selection, slideshow, and et cetera, certifications. We'll get through all that. And believe it or not, by the time we get completed with site info and everything in between, that'll usually pull us right up to about 4 o'clock. Takes us about that long to get through it. And then at that point, hopefully we'll be wrapping up, and then we'll switch into a workshop mode where if you've got some specific questions, we'll work on that. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
Sound good?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get started. The first thing I'll show you on this page before we get into listings is at the very top right-hand corner, there is the option to view live site. And this is a handy little spot that when you click on it, will let you see what your current web page looks like. So we're going to look at my brand new shell of a web page. Looks quite different than the one I demoed a minute ago for you, right? So basically, it's just empty. And depending on where you are in your setup, I think at different locations, sometimes, and maybe at this location, agent services may jump in on your profile and add a logo or add your name. So you may see some things already done, or if not, you may see that it looks blank like mine. But clicking on the View Live Site allows you to see your website, so you can evaluate what it looks like. And as we make changes, we'll go back and look at it and evaluate the changes and decide if we like those changes or not, right? So it's a handy little tool, and it's always up here at the top right-hand corner. So the first thing we're going to work on, we're going to come down under Listings, and we're going to click on IDX Integration. So if you're following along with me, go ahead and click together with me on IDX Integration, and this first pullout is going to come out. And what this does is this allows us to make a choice and connect our website to a listing database. And what we're doing right now is we're deciding, if you remember this property search up here, we're deciding what database this property search and what database these featured properties are going to talk to get listings, right? So the choices are, we can connect to Georgia MLS or FMLS. It's written out as First MLS of Georgia. Yours may say First Multiple Listing Service written out. I've seen it 3 different ways. Or you have the option for KWLS. Is y'all's already selected on something?
Mine is Georgia MLS and First MLS.
You've got both, okay.
Yeah, but I need to turn KWLS on.
So you have KWLS off, and you have Georgia MLS and FMLS on. Okay. So here's here's what I would tell you. It's interesting. I think just listening to where you guys have that agent services here has probably gone in and done some stuff for you, which is really nice. In other cases, and by the way, I don't know, did you say your name is Felipe?
Felipe, yes.
Felipe. So I was telling Angela before you got here, we actually stream this class to YouTube. So we actually have people at YouTube that are watching my screen as we go.
Oh, right now?
Yeah, right now.
Oh, wow.
So the camera isn't rolling, but the desktop is. So I was going to say, you guys may have one thing, but also I may speak to people that aren't in the room, and I just realized you're going to wonder, who am I talking to?
Yeah.
You know, so depending on where you are in your setup, somebody may have actually turned on FMLS or Georgia MLS or KWLS or not. And what I'm hearing from a lot of people is by default, if you make no choices at all, a lot of times it's either nothing set, like mine, or KWLS is set. And I want you to think about this for a minute. What is KWLS? KWLS is the Keller Williams listing database, right? So what are you going to find if you look inside that database? Only Keller Williams listings, right?
Right.
So in some parts of the country, they don't have MLS propagated and working yet, and their best option is KWLS, and that's the only one they can connect to their website. Fortunately, that's not us. We have FMLS and agreements in place that make our website work with them. So if for some reason, and I'm talking to everybody who could be watching or anybody in the room, if all you have is KWLS selected, then that could be a problem for your website, right? Because when somebody goes to search your website, one thing you'll notice is that you seem to have nationwide visibility on inventory. If somebody calls me and they say, hey, I got listings showing up in California and New York and Florida, and I know, like, you're connected to KWLS because it's a nationwide database. You're not going to see California listings with FMLS, right? So that's one thing to consider. what we want to do is we want to choose Georgia MLS and or First MLS, and probably go ahead and let go of KWLS if it's already checked. Now the question is, do I leave both of these on, or do I just choose one or the other? And here's how I'd help you answer that question. Oops, this is not letting me talk. There it goes.
There we go.
So if I do this, if I connect both of them, here's what's going to happen. My website's going to talk to Georgia MLS and FMLS, and somebody does a property search, and 123 Main Street is inventory in both systems, then I'm going to see duplicates, right? You'll see two instances of the same physical address, one with an FMLS number and then the other with the Georgia MLS number. And that's okay, right? But sometimes people really don't like the duplications, and that's a call I get. People say, hey, my site's showing 2 listings for every listing. How do you stop that? And the way you stop that is by choosing one or the other, FMLS or Georgia MLS. And in our geography, most people would say FMLS is probably the right answer if you're going to do a single integration with IDX. I understand there's sort of a line of scrimmage of Highway 20. What I understand is that below Highway 20, that seems to be Georgia MLS heavy territory. Though they both cover both areas. And our office policy at Rawls Group is free to put your listing in both systems, right? So we don't even look at that geography. There's no promise that everybody out there selling real estate just put their listing in both services. So the other argument is, okay, not the duplication argument, but the argument that, well, I want to put both on, turn both these on, because somebody may put a listing in one and not the other, and I'd rather have duplicates rather than hazard missing something, right? So that's kind of the decision making you'll have to go through and decide what works best for you. For me, I'm just going to connect mine to FMLS and call it a day. I was teaching this class on Tuesday, and I haven't tested this since the class, but this particular panel was kind of buggy. So I'm curious to know if y'all are choosing multiple listings services, let me know if it gets squirrely on you real quick and if you start having problems. The problem we were seeing was it wouldn't let them save. It kept saying you got to remove one.
That's what.
Is that what it's doing?
Not like every time I hit save, it just sits there.
So I've told you the official perspective on this, but based on what I saw earlier this week, to get through that problem, what I would tell you is for right now, choose one or the other.
Okay.
There must be, I think there's something going on. I don't know. It's not an official word, but I have my suspicions that something's going on. In the past, I've seen this work great with no problem. So make a note, come back and check this in a week or so. Maybe you can add the other feed if you want to. But what I would do is I would select FMLS, and then I would, I don't really know how to answer this region question. In the past, they've had a region question, and you could select just Georgia. I think I would say remove that because I don't want to get the other regions in there, and just keep it as FMLS and then just hit save. So I think this is probably going to be the best way to answer this question today is Georgia MLS off, FMLS on, hit the remove link, and then save it. And one further little detail, watch this. Now that I've saved it, let's see if it does the same thing it was doing earlier this week. We saw this. I go back to it, and they're both off, right? And everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's like whack-a-mole. You turn one thing on, and the other thing goes off. So here's what we did.
And mine are both on.
Yeah, are they both on?
Yeah.
You know what? Watch this. Watch closely. When I turn this, isn't that weird? I just hit on for FMLS, and Georgia MLS came on. Look at that. Look how buggy this thing is going. Something funky's happening. Watch closely. I think what I'm seeing when I hit save, I think both of them are lighting up.
Yeah, they're both lighting up.
Let's see if it does it. Oh, I didn't see it that time.
I did see it last
So here's what I told people on Tuesday when I taught the class. Choose the one you want. I'd recommend FMLS, hit remove. Then come up here to view your site. View your site, and then see if you see now if you have inventory with the badges. Because if you go back and look at the setting, it clears it out again, right? It's that constant loop. So this is kind of a nice way to just double check and make sure, okay, yeah, I'm connected to FMLS, and then let's give them some time to figure out what's going on. It's never been that unstable before. It's always been a surefire thing, but something's going on. So just to get through it, just to be clear, I'm going to show you all again. So we're going to go to IDX integration. And even though these are all set to off now, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to set FMLS, turn it on. I'm going to hit save. And I'm not going to come back to IDX integration because it seems to be undoing the switches. And then if you just want a sense of confirmation that it worked, then you can just go up here to view live site and just double check and make sure you see inventory and badging. Right? If you see inventory and no badging, then you know you're connected to KWLS. If you see inventory and you see FMLS badging, you know you're connected to FMLS. Or if you see inventory with Georgia MLS badging, then you know you're connected to Georgia MLS. And if you see no inventory at all, then the whole thing is disconnected, right? So those are the different scenarios. All right, fun stuff. IDX integration. Let's talk about global filters. If you go through and click on global filters, to begin with, I'm going to just give you the right answer for global filters. 99% of the room at this point, the right answer is to go to All Listings tab and to have the display all MLS listings on my website checked. Most people tell me it's already checked. Sometimes people say, hey, mine was not checked. Just make sure that that's checked and then hit save. Now that we've done that, I'll explain what this is, just so you know, because maybe you fall in the 1% where you do want to make a change to global filters. Here's how global filters works. Watch this. Don't do this yet. Just watch what I do. If I go to global filters, and this is a call that I get a lot of times, people are in here and I think they're just trying to discover the website. They're noodling around and making changes. And it seems like this is the common call I get. People have made it over to filtered listings. They start playing around with search criteria. And they come in, they go find a criteria. And the one that seems to get the most attention is price. And they'll do this. People, I think this is what's happening. They go, oh, price? I know how this works. Okay, let me just put it in and see what we get. And they'll put like 250,000. All right, now if I come down and if I lock that in by hitting this save button down here, because this is a global filter, what that's going to do is now it's going to limit my entire web page. Nowhere on my website, anywhere, am I going to see anything outside the global filter range of a max price of $250,000. So the call I get is people say, I just listed a $300,000 house. The seller cannot find a listing on my website. Something's going crazy. In fact, I can't find anything more than $250,000. And I'm like, ding, 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 I know what it is. You know, it's the global filter, right? And in some cases, you may have a very specific business. You may have a very specific marketing, and you go in and set global filters. But for now, I would recommend all listings and then say display all listings. And what that does is it just widens open the net so that somebody does a search, as long as it's an active listing and it can potentially come up as a search result. Then you let the consumer narrow those results based on what they're interested in. All right? So you provide a wide open search criteria, let them narrow it down. That way you don't have problems like, hey, there's nothing showing up under over 250,000. So global filters, be careful in there. Let's talk about featured listings. Now, featured listings we're going to find is an area where we're going to start starting to get some visible changes on our website. We're going to be making changes and going back and forth. So let me just point this out. I have showed you the View Live Site button, but the truth is every time you click on it, if you haven't noticed, it spawns a new tab for your website. Look at this. Now I got 3 copies of my website. That gets old after a while, right? And it can get confusing. So what I usually do is I don't continue to hit View Live Site. I usually leave just one up. And I just refresh the page as I make changes. Like this one right here is stale already because I know, look, no inventory showing up, but I know I've connected to FMLS. But if I refresh, it'll pick up the new. There we go. And so what I'll do is I'll just refresh that page as we go so we don't have a collection of tabs. So here we go. Featured listings. Click on featured listings. And now what we're doing is we're getting control over these 4 tiles right here. We're getting control over which listings are going to show up. And there's 2 scenarios that we're going to go through, right? One scenario being that we don't have any inventory at all, and we want to get some listings that match our territory and geography and niche and value systems, or excuse me, and price point. And then the second scenario is going to be if you actually have inventory, you want to pin your inventory to a page. So here I'm looking at featured listings, and forgive me, the settings, I didn't wipe them from the last time, so pardon me 1 second, nobody look at what I'm doing, just, I don't know, talk to your neighbor or something. I got to reset all this. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So this is what it looks like when you start from scratch. Here we go, featured listings. There it is. This is a brand new, fresh search. There's nothing defined. It's going to look just like, it'll say price highest to lowest. All right. So I just didn't do my job of resetting that before class. Sorry about that. This is what it looks like when it's brand new. Featured listings, nothing is defined. And if I go look at my website, this is what it's going to look like brand new. If I recycle it without defining anything at all, without setting a price, without setting any geography, this is what my featured listings going to look like. And if you haven't set yours at all, this is what yours will look like as well, especially if you're connected to FMLS. All right, so we're seeing listings that are showing up that are $25 million listings. and they're all over the place in terms of geography. So we're going to work on that first scenario of reeling these in, getting a price and a geography and a niche that fits my business, right? Because I would love to sell a $25 million mansion, of course, right? Imagine how good that would be, but it's just not probably realistic for my website to have these featured listings. So to get control over these, we're going to go in to our featured listings tab right here. And we're going to work under this first tab called filtered listings for this first scenario. And we're going to use the search criteria, this listing criteria, to manipulate what's showing up in our tiles, right, in that row. The first thing that I would say to work on is the price, right? Get these reeled in to a price that's more relevant to our territory. And so if we're down here in Brookhaven, what would you think? You can see I've got a price tool right here I can use. What would you say would be a good max price if I wanted to try and establish a good cross-section of inventory, maybe residential listing? Would it be like $1 million or 800,000? What do y'all think? Because I really don't know the market.
Probably 500 to $1 million.
500 to $1 million? Mm-hmm. Let's split the difference. Let's do 750 just for argument's sake. I'm going to set 750,000 as my max price, right? And as I do that, you can see that I just put in straight integers and they punctuated it with a $sign and comma and whatnot. But as I do that, it comes down here and I can hit search or hit enter and it tells me how many listings match that criteria. There was 41,067 listings in FMLS, because my website's connected to FMLS, that matched my criteria. And that criteria is only one element, which is a max price. So I could actually go ahead and save that and lock it in. And if I go look at my web page, I can come over here and refresh it just to get a sense of what that looks like. These 25 mils should go away, and now I'm starting to get listings that are in the price range that you can see there they are. They're in the price range that I designated. So we're getting somewhere. The price is in the right range. But to continue refining which properties show up, price is not enough. I also want to keep in mind that, look at this. This is Decula, Loganville, McDonough, Chamblee. I better get new tires, right? Because I'm going to be driving all over if this is where I'm doing my territory. So we want to get the geography in, right? So I'm going to keep drilling in. I'm going to go back over here to featured listings. And I'm going to continue defining criteria, right? So I still have my max price at 750. And then below that, I have a choice to add search criteria. So I can open up this command box, combo box, and I can look at additional criteria. So I've got price in the right area, but now I need to get geography. You can look here, the selection criteria, the first category is location. And this area, this part of the selection tool has been growing. I can remember when it was simply city, state, county, zip, and neighborhood was all you had here. And now they've got all these things like elementary school, high school, it's pretty cool. Subdivisions in there. So they've got some other things. Building name, I've not really played around with that. To get things started, I'm going to play with city, for an example. I'm going to hit city, and I'm going to add that to my criteria. And there it is. Look at that. City is now an available field. And so now I've got the right price, but if I'm trying to get my geography straight, well, I'm here in Brookhaven. So I'm going to start typing Brookhaven. And look what happens on the screen. When I start typing Brookhaven, it starts suggesting Brooks and Brookhaven. Now this is not the same field suggestion you get when you have filled out a form on your web browser. Like if you filled out a form yesterday and then you came back today to the same page, you start filling it out and your browser begins suggesting based on your previous answers. That's not what's going on here. What's going on here is we tied our website into FMLS. So as you're typing the city name here, it's talking to FMLS and it's matching up based on as you're typing and suggesting based on the cities that are in FMLS. So Brookhaven is a city in FMLS. Right. We know that. So there it is. And actually Brooks is, obviously, I have no idea where that is, but Brookhaven would be a city. So I can type that in and hit enter. And now it puts a little box around Brookhaven, and I still have a flashing cursor in the city field to let me know I could add additional cities. So I could stop here and say 750,000 max price and Brookhaven, or I could continue and say something like Buckhead. Look at that, Buckhead's in there. And I'm purposely steering us in this direction because this is a bit of a caveat. Think about FMLS and how it works, and think about, have you ever found Buckhead listing in FMLS that was Buckhead around here?
Or Buckhead, Georgia.
Or is it Buckhead, Georgia?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you got to remember what's going on here, because that right there is Buckhead, Georgia, and that's going to be a much more rural type selection of listings, right? So think about the fact that it's connected to FMLS. So Buckhead, unfortunately, for our cases, being that we are in the Buckhead area, is not going to work, right? So Brookhaven could work. I could put in Sandy Springs if I wanted to. I could add that in there if I wanted to. I don't want to, though. Just going to leave it as Brookhaven. And I'm going to search that, and let's see how many we have now. So my 40,000 number has come down to 300. Look at that. Based on my search criteria, I've now reduced the number of listings that match my criteria is now 300 based on 750 max price and in the city of Brookhaven. I'm going to go check that out and see what it looks like on my website. I'm going to lock that in. I'm going to come up here, and now my page is stale because I've made changes on the back end, so I need to refresh the page up here to see the changes. And I should still see the 750, but now I should see things that are in Brookhaven. There they are in Brookhaven, Georgia. So how many listings match that criteria? It's 300, right? Right on the nose, 300. So there are 4 listings showing up right now, but I've got a virtual pipeline of listings feeding these 4 tiles. Those 300 that I have, they're feeding in right here on the side and making a line of inventory coming in. And the way this works is, let's say that Sylvan Circle, 1483 Sylvan Circle sells. If that were to sell, this tile would come off the web page.
Right.
And then Reading Road would come in and fill it in, the next space over. And then the next one in that list of 300 would fill in the vacancy behind Reading Road, right? So it's an automated sort of pipeline. If you got 300 listings that match your criteria, you can pretty much set that and forget it and let it just kind of run. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a nice, very generalized way of getting some inventory that's not yours, that's IDX powered, right? So if I click on Green Meadows Lane, it's not going to show me the listing agent. It's going to show me my contact. We haven't gotten there yet. It's blank at the moment. We'll get there and fill that out. But it's still the same old IDX. That was a really pretty house, actually.
Mm-hmm. Now I got a question. They all say 750.
It's a great question. I get that question a lot of times. So why is the system showing these houses, right, is the question.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that answer is because of in featured listings, we have a default sort order, and it's set highest to lowest, right? So does that mean that there are, okay, look at this, 750 right on the nose, right?
Right.
So why is it these 750 and not some other 750? And I couldn't tell you. I've had theory after theory, because that's a popular question.
Yeah.
I've had some people say, I know what it is. It's days on the market.
Maybe.
Or it's the MLS number.
Right.
Or it's, something, but at the same time, we've actually stopped and looked at it a little bit, and we've never been able to connect any of those theories. So my best guess is somehow it is randomized.
Yeah.
Somehow it's figuring out how it's going to show which 750 ahead of another 750 when you have a case of the same price. That is a bit of a situation there. But check this out, and it's funny you asked that question because I want you to see the sort order. Here's one thing that I love. It doesn't always work, but when it does, I love it. So you can go in and change the sort order based on a couple of criteria. And one that I like is total images most. Because what that does is it sort of shuffles the deck up. Look at this. If I come in here and save that, and now I come back over here and refresh my page, I'm still dealing with the same 300 with a max price of 750, but look at how it's presented. It's showing the listing with the most photos first, and then the next listing with the next most photos. So it looks like I've kind of, for some reason, really picked out specifically these listings and don't just have a mindless descending order, right? So it looks like these really kind of are my picks in a way. Now, occasionally, what will happen is somebody will take a ton of photos of a really ugly listing. And it's so frustrating because you have all these, and it kind of looks like that now, sort of. I mean, I'm not going to bang on that one too bad, but still, it's 750,000, well, it's $236,000 listing, but still, it doesn't always produce the best results, but it does shuffle the deck, and I like that. I think that's kind of cool. A couple other things you can do as you're sorting through these listings. I just showed you a real basic method of filtering listings based on a price and a geography. A lot of times people are, think about this for a minute before I give this example. So most web marketing experts will tell you that the more hyper-local your focus is, in other words, the more you narrow down your geography on online marketing, usually the better results you'll get, right? And so you'll hear a lot of times if you go to classes or talking to experts and panels, they'll tell you make yourself a local subject matter expert, right? Come from a spirit of contribution. Try to plug into the community. Try to plug into the neighborhood. Try to, be present and be, when somebody thinks of you in real estate, they think of that small territory, right? The pushback I get is some people say, well, I can't be a neighborhood realtor only because I got to make a living at this. I've got to be willing to go and do whatever. And that's fine, right? You can still have that attitude. But right now what we're doing is we're trying to define those 4 tiles on your website, right? Think about it this way. These 4 tiles here, often when I'm talking to a new agent, somebody who's setting their website up, there's all this pressure and stress to figure out every possible city, every possible property type that I'm willing to do and get that incorporated into my featured properties. And so they'll end up defining this thing with like 15 different criteria, and they've got 15,000 or 20,000 listings that match your criteria, and they're feeding into these 4 little tiles, and it's really not doing you much good, right? Because you only got 4 tiles on this template. You only have 4 tiles. You got to make the most of it. And here's an analogy I would share, and think of it this way: it's like going to the mall, and you walk by a store, and they have their showroom window, right? Not their showroom window. They have their showcase window in front of the store. They don't cram all their inventory and shove it in the window and go, here's everything we sell. Now come on in, right? That's not how it works. What they do is they kind of get a cross-section of some stuff, some things that will pinch a nerve on their target demographic who's walking by. Right. So they put something in there to get you interested, to pinch a nerve that results in engagement, right? So think about that this way, that for these 4 listings, this is your showcase window. Don't feel like you've got to name every possible location and situation that represents your business. Think about who you're trying to attract and try to get listings that pinch a nerve on that person, on that consumer, right? And with that in mind, think of a couple more examples. One thing you could do, what if I were to do this? What if I went in, took the price out, took the city out, and maybe went ahead and did a neighborhood? I don't know the difference between raw neighborhood and neighborhood, but I'll put a neighborhood. Can y'all think of a neighborhood in Brookhaven? I'm lost. I'm not from around here. Let's see, Brookhaven, Georgia neighborhoods. Oh, maybe we get some of the Wikipedia. Do we have neighborhoods, education, government, transportation, reference, neighborhoods, the districts? This is starting to look good. Brookhaven Village. Let's check it out. Brookhaven Village. I'm just guessing. This is not prepared ahead of time. Let's see if we get neighborhood search. Brookhead Village. Brookhead. I'd just say Brookhead. Brookhaven Village. I'm going to search that. What do we got? We got 1. Let's do some more Brookhavens in here. It look like some of these neighborhoods. Okay, Brookhaven. Manor? Yeah. Let's check that out. Search. What do we got? 2. I want to get a good one here. Let's see a good example. Brookhaven. I don't know how this will pan out. 1. Let's get a different name here. How about, let's check out Linwood Park. I cannot read and I cannot speak today. I don't know. I cannot read and I can't speak, and my job is to read and speak in front of room full of people today. Let's just try Linwood Park. See what we get. 18. Okay, let's play with that. So let's just say we had those listings in there. We can go ahead and hit save. And the only criteria I put was the name of the neighborhood. And so, whoops, I'm all over the place here. I lost my, bear with me, there we go, view last night, thought I had it up. So now it's going to narrow down my inventory to that specific neighborhood. And it really kind of emphasizes me as the Brookhaven agent at this point, right? So if I'm talking to somebody and they're like, so what's your specialty? Or maybe I'm telling somebody my specialty or something along those lines, it makes sense when they come to my website and they see that, I've got this neighborhood locked down for my inventory. Imagine if you're marketing in that neighborhood and maybe you're marketing it just listed in that neighborhood, and somebody gets your postcard and they're looking at it and they go to your site and then they start recognizing the houses in the neighborhood, it corroborates the idea that, yeah, you are really focused on that area. Now, again, sometimes people say, well, listen, that's making me really nervous because I have to broaden my horizons out. You can. You can do that. You can still choose a neighborhood, or you can still choose very specific properties for your showcase, and you can still use the site to represent a wider range of inventory of what you're willing to do. Don't be afraid to narrow it down just for your showcase, right? So you've heard the expression, dress for the job you want, right? So market for the customer that you want. You know what I mean? So a couple of ideas. One more thing I'll show you, and we'll switch gears on this featured listing. This has come up more frequently. It's something I didn't think of, but it makes a lot of sense. Sometimes people say, you know what, that's all great, but really all I want to do is I just want to show the office inventory on my website for now, and then when I get my own listings, I'll add those. And so I've started showing that you can come in, blow away all your search criteria like I just did, and then add a search criteria for agent office. You can come in and say office ID, add that. And then what's the broker code here? Do y'all know? Should be KW.
Nope.
It's okay, I know it. KWPR01. You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
KWPC row 01. So if I search that, now what we have is we have all the inventory for the market center. I can save that, and now you're advertising for your market center, which is kind of a cool, choice, right? To get your listings in there, and we're sorting by most pictures first. Gosh, look at those. Those look pretty good. This one still made it in there, right? And maybe there's something about this you could still continue to filter. You could say, well, I'll show office listings, but maybe you don't want to show any rentals. So you can still keep adding and go in the search criteria, and you just keep refining this. There's all kinds of options to play around with. You can come in and say, maybe purchase type. Add that. And say, you know what, I'm just gonna let buy be in there. So now I'm just gonna show buy, and that just took all the rentals out, right? Okay. So you can keep playing around with that. Maybe you want to add something that's for sale in the office that's near a certain high school. See, we're still showing it has to meet all these criteria. It has to be in KWPR01, it has to be for sale, and then what's a high school around here?
Grady.
Grady? Ooh, it didn't seem to take that. Did I spell it right? Yeah, I did, didn't I? Grady. Let's see, I bet that's going to come up to, it found 13. Well, 13 is a very specific number of listings, so you could certainly do it, and it certainly serves my example. Now you're going to have those 13 in the list. With 13, you're going to need to pay attention to your featured listings, though, because those will disappear probably a lot quicker. But if you wanted to, you could certainly do that. I'm going to take that out, keep it over here at 420. Save that. Now I got a list of 420 listings that are matching my criteria of for sale in this office, and it's feeding in to this row. Y'all with me on that? Does that make sense? So let's talk about if you have inventory. You want to get your specific inventory added to the featured listings. So we're going to go back to our control panel. We're going to go into featured listings. And this time we're going to work, instead of working in filtered listings, we're going to work under specific listings. When I click on specific listings, you can see we have our tool shows up. We already recognize all this. We've already been playing with these criteria. It even brought our criteria over from the last time. But if we look below the search criteria, you've got now things are a little different. We've got a couple columns. On the left-hand side, you've got search results. And on the right-hand side, we have selected listings. And the way it works is you go up here and build a search. You search it. The results show up on the bottom left, and whatever you move from the bottom left to the right are what's going to be pinned to your showcase, right? So we'll blow these all away. Let's just take those all out, reset. And now what I'm going to do is if I am looking for my inventory, I'm going to go over here to add search criteria. And remember when we found the office ID? In the same area, should be, there it is, agent ID. There's office ID. Here's agent ID. I can nominate that as a new criteria. There it is now. And if my website is attached to the FMLS database, then when I set a criteria of agent ID, the answer I want to provide is my FMLS username. I don't need the password. All I need is the FMLS username. And I've told you I'm not in sales, so a lot of this is fiction up here. And so what I've done is I've gotten permission from Lisa Vale to use her FMLS username, Lisa Vale. She has a business called V Team. She's an agent out of Sandy Springs. She said, sure, use my FMLS ID and teach everybody what you can. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to role play with Lisa Vale's username for FMLS. There it is. Don't need her password. All I need is her username. Hopefully you've got a username. And now when I hit search, the only criteria in here is V Team. I get, it's like 7 listings showed up. Awesome. She had more than that earlier this week, so she must have sold some. These 7, I actually recognize them, are Lisa Vale's listings, or now for the sake of this scenario, my listings, right? They belong to me. And I'm going to just hit add all, there it is, add all, and just move all 7 of those to the right. So now I've got 7 that are pinned to the right. I'm going to lock that choice in by hitting save, and now when I go to my web page, now this information is now old and stale because I've changed the back end. I'm going to come up here and refresh. We should now be seeing Lisa Vale's listings, or excuse me, Scott Hardy's quote unquote listings. There they are. And we had 7 that match the criteria. We've got room for 4. It's going to follow my default sort order. It's probably, this looks like it's in descending order. I think that is the default. And so I've got 3 more listings hanging out that are waiting. So if Mount Vernon Highway were to sell and goes off the market, then this will slide over, and then the next one on that list of 3 will come in and fill its place. And if I'm looking at this and going, well, I don't really like the way that looks right now, well, I can go in here back to my criteria, and I can go and take it out. I can come down here and I can unspecify it. So it was 470 Mount Vernon, remove, save. There's 2 of them with the same address, so I'm not sure if I got the right one. Let's see, let's reset that. Yeah, that's good enough, right? At least that one's got a picture. The other one was just a blank.
Right.
So you can see where I've corrected that. So now I'm showing my inventory on the web page, and it's sorted by highest to lowest price. But what happens if you don't have 4 inventory? What if you have less than 4? Let's go to featured listings and let's rework our example here. I'm going to remove all of Lisa Vale's, and I'm going to change from Lisa Vale to Phyllis. I'm going to search hers and look at her situation. She's got 3 listings, right? So I can add all hers. There's nothing pinned. I'm going to add hers. So now I'm role playing like these are my listings. I'm just borrowing a couple of friends' FMLS usernames right now just to show this stuff. All right, I'm going to save that. Go look at my website. This is now stale information, so I'm going to reset it, refresh. And here we go. My showcase now has my 3 inventory. I'm pretending like those are my inventory. This is acceptable. I could stop right here and say, hey, there's my 3 inventory, ready to go. But if you're like me, this sort of thing drives me crazy that it's not, that it's all off to the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Can't stand it. And I keep telling every class, you know what, I'm going to send in a feature suggestion that they would just simply center that. I'd be good. That would make all the difference for me, you know, if they don't. And the fact that I know, me personally, I know I've got room for 1 more. I want to get that in there. So let me show you how you combine some inventory, and then we'll wrap this part up. So I've got my pieces of inventory here, and the goal here is I want to fill out my road, but I also want to keep my inventory in position. So here's what I'm going to do that. I am going to keep these ordered in the sort order of highest to lowest, and I'm going to focus on my lowest price. This is just one way to get the result, right? So 375, 275, 268.9 is the lowest price. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep this 268.9 in mind, go back to my featured listings tool, and in this scenario, searching by only P. Simone has played out, right? I got my 3 listings. I want more, so that's not going to do me any good. So I'm going to blow that out. I'm going to add a new criteria. I'm going to put a max price. What was her lowest price? 268.9, right? I'm strategically and on purpose going to put this at 267.5. Whoops, 1 too many zeros. There we go. And if I look at her, this is Decula, Marietta. Is Decula, is that Gwinnett?
I think so.
I think so. So here was what I'll do. I'll get some listings that are kind of relative to both those. So I'm going to say add search criteria. I'm going to go by county. I'm going to say county.
Did you mean to put minimum price or maximum price?
I meant to put maximum price. Thanks for catching that. I'll fix it in a second. So for county, I'm going to put Cobb because these two are in Cobb.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to put Cobb, and then I can add an additional answer because I got a flashing cursor. So Gwinnett, right? So now I'll remove that. It's a good catch. Thanks. Add max price. There we go. Whoops, what was my number? I'm looking at 2689, so I'll put 265. 2675. So I'm going to put search that. So now, based on county of Cobb and Gwinnett and max price of 267.5, I hit search. I've got 4,524 results. Look at this. Her original 3 are still there in position. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all these over to the list. Watch, I'm going to say add all. Now what happens is when I hit add all, and it only increased by 10. It went from 3 to 13 right there. Because what happens is when you hit add all here, it's adding all of this page. This little table is considered a page. Look at this. If I go to page 2, and then hit add all, it's going to increase by another 10. Sort of annoying, right? But page 3, now I get my next 10 in this list, hit add all, now it's gone up to 33. So I'm going to build this up to like 50 or 60 or so. I just wish that add all button really did add all. Wouldn't that be great? But there's, 60, great, 65 listings. I'm going to lock that in. And I'll go take a look at my web page. Everything is stale, right? Right, you see, because I've made changes. Remember these 3, Audubon Drive, Pinehurst, and Lake Crest. Now when I recycle the page, the new inventory should show up. And there's Audubon Drive, Pinehurst, and Lake Crest. But now Autumn in View has been added at 2675. And so these are safe and stay in position because I've set it to show in descending order. And I strategically added listings below her lowest price. So as those houses sell, as this sells, that'll come off, and the next one in that 300 or so 400 list will come and fill its place while these stay in position. Because these are mine, and I favor them, and I'm partial to them, and I want them to stay up there. And that's just one technique to mix my inventory and make sure they stay up here while I have dynamic inventory coming in and out and keeping my rows filled up.
So
right?
if you choose 4 images on that selected thing, if they sell, there's going to be a blank
Right.
space, right?
Exactly. If you just specifically put 4 up there.
Okay.
Or in a minute, we're going to be playing around with templates. We're going to be about to learn that not every template is the same.
Okay.
This is the Madison template. It has 4 tiles. The Phoenix has 12 tiles. So if you just designate 4, you're missing out on that. So yeah, it'll make sense here in a minute when you see it. So last thing here, if I were to go in and say I change my default sort order from total images, because we like that, what do you think is going to happen here? Chances are I'm about to scramble this whole thing up. It's going to shuffle the deck. I'm going to lose one of mine or all of mine. I think one of them makes it. I did it the other day and one stayed in there.
Yeah.
Audubon Drive happened to make it in there. Happens to have those photos. But I lost 2 of my other ones. So it's critical that I keep the sort order in descending order because that's a variable I can control and say don't add anything that's more expensive than my lowest price house. All right. So now I have showed you everything I plan to show you for the listing section. Any questions? Anybody want to talk about anything? Angela, you've just been clicking away over there. Are you making some progress?
I was trying to get some homes selected, but I chose a few unselected, and now when I'm trying to save it, it won't let me.
Oh, what's it doing?
It says you don't have any listings selected, but that's what I want. I don't want anything in a specific listing.
So okay, what you're going to need to do is come out. If you get to this specified listing, you got to have some criteria pinned in order to save it. So if you want nothing, come back over here to filtered listings.
Okay, I just did. Okay, so I need to remove all of that, right?
No, you can go on to filtered.
Okay.
And then you can come down and just remove everything. There you go. And then scroll down the bottom. And then that's that'll start you over from scratch.
okay.
There you go.
Got it.
Wow.
Thank you.
Now that's everything. You're going to have $25 million listings.
Okay.
You know? So you're starting over from scratch.
Okay.
That's what you got. Felipe, how's it going over there on your end?
Good.
Okay. Very good. So let's switch gears then and let's talk about site design and get into some of these topics here. So we'll start with theme selection. I'm not going to go in perfect order of this, but we're going to start with theme selection and slideshow, and then we're going to jump for a minute into something else. But theme selection, the first option, theme selection, if you will, click together with me on theme selection. And this is your opportunity to browse and select the different themes that are available. There are 8 different templates provided, basic templates. If you, the first one is Madison, which is the default template, which is one I'm on. If you hit the little arrows to the right and left of the images, you can browse through and get a preview of the themes. Madison Metro is cousin to the Madison. Go to the left is Madison. Go to the right, Madison Metro. They're very similar. And then continuing on into Franklin, Phoenix. And I'm moving a little quicker than you might, but you can control it on your end. You can check these out at the speed you want. Sedona, Toronto, and Plymouth, and then back to Madison. Now, what's interesting about the Madison and the Madison Metro, these 2 templates were made specifically for Keller Williams. So while other associates, real estate associates with competing brokers can also get a Placester account, they cannot get access to the Madison. The Madison series are exclusive for us, right? They're built for us. One thing interesting, as you start scrolling down a little bit, you see that there is a color palette. So you can change the color theme. You cannot be specific. You can't say, I want a yellow search button and a green banner. But what you can do is you can choose these broad stroke palettes here and say, I want an orange theme Madison. If I choose that, then it's going to retheme it in orange. Or if I say I want a gray one, rethemed it in gray. And they all have that. Madison Metro's got the color palette. Some of them have multiple colors in one palette. Well, they did. There you go. There's an example. Fremont, you can see you've got a combo color. And the designer decides where the colors land. And that's, you just kind of choose what you like. Back on the Madison, in addition to the color choices, I have an option number 3. And this is special. It says select your page header background color will match color selected above. Look at this, number 3. This is, you're only going to see this on the Madison. You won't see this on the other templates. On the Madison, you have option number 3, which says you can put a check mark next to a red banner or a check mark in front of a white banner. And really what this red banner is saying, it's not saying red, it's saying do you want a full color banner or do you want just a white banner? And you can designate by check. If I come up here and check the full color banner and put myself on blue and want to know what it looks like, well, the red stays in color, but if I scroll up, I can see the preview up here. There it is in blue, with a full colored blue. Here it is with full colored green. So the preview happens above. This is just your choice. Do you want a color banner or a white banner? So I'm going to say yes, I want a color banner, and I'm going to put mine in gray for now, and then I'm going to save that. And if I go look, I can recycle my page, and it should rebuild the page from Madison to gray. There it is. It's in gray. The Madison Metro, which is one to the right of Madison, also features the same ability, but look at the options. Number 3 on Madison Metro is a little different. It says enter a statement to display over the slideshow. What's going on here, and this took me a minute to figure out, is the Madison option for this banner reaches over to the Madison Metro and has an impact on it. So whatever you've chosen at Madison impacts the Madison Metro. And that's a call I get from time to time. People over here on the Madison, they're like, hey, no matter what I do, my Madison has a gray toolbar and I can't figure out how to turn that off. I want the white banner. Well, what you would have to do is you'd have to go back over to Madison and change your choice at Madison to the clear or white, save it, and then come back down to theme selection again, come back over now that that's saved and locked in. See, there's the check mark. Now I go back to the Madison Metro, and now my Madison Metro will have the clear background, the white banner. Kind of frustrating, I think, to figure that out, but now that you know, you can get control of that. Back on theme selection again. In addition to the Madison Metro and Madison's themed banner, they also have this option to add a statement to display over slideshow. I'm not a big fan of the statement, but I'll show it to you so you see what it looks like. I'll use a call to action for demonstration purposes. Call Scott Harding today for a free buyer-seller consultation. Save that, and here you can get a glimpse of what that looks like. So I'm going to recycle my page. There is the statement, and I just don't like it simply because look at the font. Yeah, it gets lost. There's nothing you can do about the font. It's always going to be this white, large sans serif narrow font, and depending on the image in the background, it may or may not be visible. And that's my problem with it. I don't really care for it right there. So I usually don't put it in. I just show it in class so you can see it. It's your choice whether you go for it or not. I'm going to come back down here, and I'm going to take it out. So the Madison and Madison Metro are popular because they're Keller Williams, but a popular alternative to the Madison Metro, I see a lot of people do, is the Plymouth. Now, all these are decent in their own rights, but the Plymouth is one that I see a lot. Right here it is, the Plymouth. One thing about the Plymouth is it features the property search pushed down below the image. So think about the Madison, you got your property search going right across your image. So if you have your banner, your slideshow is a critical part of communicating your brand identity, and you got the property search plastered across it, you may not like it. So I think that's where Plymouth gets its popularity. As you can see, they moved the property search below. So if I were to, I'll make a green Plymouth. Sounds like a car, doesn't it? Green Plymouth. If I go here and recycle my page, I should be coming out of the Madison Metro with a white background and coming into the green Plymouth. We'll drop our statement. So this is the green Plymouth, so you can see how now my property search is down here below. My image is big. An example of a Plymouth in use, one of the best examples I've seen is Christina Zerker's site, which is my Smyrna Realtor.com. She's an agent out of KW City side, a Rawls Group office. And this is her rendition of the Plymouth, but I think she did a really good job. So it features the slideshow. We're going to get into slideshows here next and talk about different slides. I'm going to go bring her first slide up. There it is right there. Just look at that for a minute. I mean, that is really good. You know, I mean, I asked her, I said, where'd you get this slide? How'd you make that? And she said that she went and took a photo of one of her listings and got the patio. And then she went to a clip art website and bought the Home Sweet Home clip art and used like Photoshop or something and fused those two together. And then that, of course, made a seam in the middle. Then she covered the seam up by getting a tightly cropped, very tightly cropped image of her headshot. And she placed that over. And she made that as a single image, and then she uploaded it as one of her slides. And I thought, wow, well done. I see she gets a lot of compliments over how well that looks. Now, you remember the Madison had my picture up here in the top right, little circle picture. That's not included in the Plymouth. The Plymouth, what it does, if you don't do something like what Christine's done, the Plymouth puts your photo way down here. That's the footprint. And so that's the one thing I hear criticism on the Plymouth is while it's an awesome full bleed image and the property search is low, but people don't like their head being down so at the bottom. I don't think it's a horrible thing, but I do hear that as pushback. But Christina Zerker's site, when you get a chance, go take a look at it. It's inspiring. She's done a lot of work on it, and it's a good example. MySmyrnaRealtor.com. All right, so back on our site, or my site, here I am, and I'm looking at the Plymouth, and I can change my theme again if I want to. I'm going to go back to theme selection, go put myself back on the Madison, and I'm going to put myself on the Madison gray for now, just because I've got some examples that are relative. Just a minute. There we go. And we're going to push forward. Add a theme selection. I'll let you work on your theme. You can come back to that if you just couldn't settle. I'm going to get into slideshow, which gets us control over that big grand image that's featured in the website. So here I am at slideshow. Now something happened this week. I get on the slideshow, and I don't know if you see what I see, but on mine, I have this slideshow called Highland. Y'all see that if you're following along? Okay, so that's a new slideshow. I've just seen that this week for the first time. It's pretty. I mean, they did a neat job adding some new photos. You can preview the slideshow. All slideshows can handle a maximum of 5 slides, and you can preview the images that are in the slides using the slideshow. So Highland is one. And then another one is interiors. So if I thumb through those, there's 5 slides for interiors. Variety, which happens to be, if I'm not mistaken, that is the default slideshow for Madison. Flip through and see that one. By the way, the blue circle with a white check shows you which slideshow is in play. So if you ever get confused, which one am I running? Come in here and find the one with the circle, with the blue circle and a white check. Luxury properties is another option. You can choose these slides. These can be customized. You can add your own images or take away images. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Mid-price, there's another example of mid-priced homes. 5 slides in that one. And then the nature is the final one, which I think that would be pretty tricky for a real estate website, but I mean, I guess with enough creativity you could pull it off. They're great shots, but I just don't know if they would work in my business. So the one that's in play right now is the variety slideshow. If I were to click select on that, it takes me into a deeper view of my slideshow where I can analyze each slide that's in the show. And if I'm happy with this slideshow and I like it, I can just go ahead and save it, lock that in, and let that one be in use. All right, so I'm going to recycle my page. That door shut there, help us. And as I'm looking at my slideshow now, and we've had it up for a while, but we haven't talked about it, I can evaluate each one of those images and decide what I think about them. And I can tell you that I take issue with this one here. I just really don't like, I like all those in this particular slideshow, but that one. Because it doesn't really say Atlanta real estate, you know?
Right.
So I can get control over that. I can come down in here to my slideshow, go find the one that's in use. It's going to be variety. There it is. Hit select, and here I can come in, find the image I don't like. There it is. And look, I can take slide number 4, and I can simply delete it. Now I have a choice. I could go one of 2 directions. I could call it a day and say, well, I've turned my 5-slide slideshow into a 4-slide slideshow. I could come down here and save this right here and lock that in and be done. And then the picture I don't like is now gone, and the pictures I like are there, and nobody's the wiser, right? That's great. That could work. But I also know that slide number 4 is available, and if you're like me, I want to put something in there, right? So I can do that as well. You can see there's an upload tool here, right? I can upload an image. And if I click on upload, of course, it allows me to browse through my computer and upload images. So let's talk about adding images to your website for a minute. What do y'all think the most important thing is to think about and to consider when you're adding an image to your website? Any ideas? Most important thing.
It's got to be, I don't know the right word, legal, I guess? Or,
that is it.
Yeah.
You nailed it right there. Legal, you've got to have permission, right?
Permission.
You got to have permission before you put images up on your website. And to bring that point home, I want to spend a minute and share a story that happened to me. And this is a true story. So I was teaching this class. I've been teaching this class for a while. A couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I was something like that, just inside of 2 years ago. I was over at First Atlanta teaching this class at Sandy Springs. And we got to the end of the class and asked, has anybody got any questions? And somebody said, you know, you mentioned the blog, but you didn't really show it to us. And I don't really consider that part of the launch so much. It's already running. I consider that, you know, content. And so the person said, would you show us, just since we're here at the end of the class, show us how to do a blog post? And I said, well, sure. And back then, I didn't do the Georgia cabins theme. My theme was tree houses. I had treehousefinder.com was my fictitious business because I really love tree houses in real life. And I was like, I'll do that. And it became more and more difficult to keep that theme going. And then finally I ran into problems with the website, which I'm about to tell you about. I ended up just deleting the whole thing. And it was over images. So here's what happened in that story. They asked me to do a blog post. And since my website theme was tree houses and buying tree houses, I went to Pete Nelson's blog. If you don't know who that is, he's the Treehouse Masters guy. If you ever watch that show, Treehouse Masters, where they build luxury tree houses, it's like on Animal Planet and HGTV, and they're amazing. You know, I mean, you could live in these tree houses. It's really awesome. So I said, well, let me get some content just to play with, and I'll show you how to do the blog post. So I went to Pete Nelson's blog, and I copied a couple paragraphs, and I downloaded a picture of an awesome tree house, you know, right-clicked on it and saved it. Had all my parts, and I even said in class, now don't do this, right? But I'm just going to show you real quick the mechanics of it. And then so I added a new post. I put the copy in there, and I uploaded the image, and I showed everybody, there it is, there's my post. And everybody was like, great, now we know how to do a blog post. And then I dismissed class and left, and I totally forgot I had done that. All right, so advanced like 6 months later, I get a phone call from the office, and the office MTA says, hey, you've got a stack of mail growing over here at First Atlanta, and I don't ever get mail at the market centers, really. She said, do you want me to read this to you, any of this, or open one up? I said, well, who's it from? She said, it's from a company called Getty Images. And I knew. I mean, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, no. And I said, yes, please read it. So she read a couple, and she got to, and they were horrible, and got to the most recent one, and it was a demand letter for $1,600. And I just was like dumbfounded, you know? So I said, well, let me make some phone calls. I don't know how it's going to go yet, but let me make some phone calls. I'll get back to you. She says, yeah, it sounds like you need to make some phone calls. Get back to me, you know? So I called Getty Images. Long story short, called Getty Images, and I just thought, you know what? I'm going to be bold. I'm going to tell them exactly what I want. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm just going to be up front. And the guy, customer service rep, gets on the phone. What can I do for you? And I told him what was going on. And I said, I am looking today to be forgiven for this. It was a mistake. And look at the site. It's not even in production. It's a demo site. You know, I said, I'm a guy who has to teach this class for my job. You know, I didn't even say I'm the director of technology. I was just like, I got to teach this class. Yeah. And I made a mistake. And you know, I want to make right on it, but at the same time, can I get a break, you know? And the guy kind of chuckled. He said, okay, let me work on that. I'll get back to you. Next day he calls me and says, good news. We're going to reduce your fine by 50%. I was like, well, that's still $800 and something, you know? And he said, well, we'd like to go more, but he said the problem is they already paid the royalties out to the photographer. That's what he said. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But, you know, that's what he said. And he said, so we'll knock off our fine, but we got to recover our costs, so it's still $850, you know, liability. And so fortunately, I work for an amazing woman. Jean Rawls is my boss, and I went to her and had the pleasure of telling her I made an $850 and some change, you know, mistake. And we talked about it, and she said, well, you know, people make mistakes, and we fail forward, and here, you know, write a check, and we'll fix it and move on. And I said, great. And she said, so, but tell me, how are we going to get this message out to all the agents, you know, that are taking your class, because we don't want people in the same situation. And we thought, well, maybe a public service announcement in every single class would be good. And so you just got your public service announcement, right? So that's the deal. And that has been my story for the longest time until recently, about 3 or 4 months ago, I got a phone call from Dunwoody. They said, hey, you got a stack of mail. I'm not kidding you. I was like, oh no. Who's it from? And they said, it's from an attorney. You want us to open it? And I was like, yes, please open it. And they opened it. And you know, it was a demand letter. And what was going on was on my old site, the Treehouse Finder, I had testimonies, fake testimonies. And I had celebrities, Oprah Winfrey, George Clooney, some other people, Barack Obama, you know, and I had these funny testimonies like, Scott helped me so much find my dream house, you know, Oprah, you know, that kind of stuff. I mean, people, they got a good laugh in class. People were like, you know Oprah? You know, I'm like, that's the joke.
Right.
Anyway, so Barack came out of office and Trump came in office, so I took Barack's photo down and I had gone and got a photo of President Trump, put him up, giving a claim about how I'd found a wonderful house on the hill in Pennsylvania, in Washington D.C. And he learned so much about real estate from Scott Harding and blah blah blah. It was really funny, and that's what the next letter was about. So it wasn't that Trump was after me; it was some company that had rights to that photo. I had thought that I had found a photo that was, public. Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't. So that was $1,700.
Wow.
And that one, we had to keep attorneys involved.
Yeah.
It got legal.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So rest in peace, treehousefinder.com.
Yeah.
I pushed that delete button,
Right.
shut the whole thing down. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And I tell these stories because I want you to realize that it's big business, man. These people are going after you.
Right.
And it's serious, So, and I see a lot of infringements. I see a lot of people that I see the image. I'm like, okay, I know you didn't buy that image, because I've seen it elsewhere, things like that. So it's real important that you have permission, to use the images on your website. And what was I going to tell you about? Something else, but anyway, so when you're trying to find images for your website, let's talk about places that you can get. Oh, I remember what I was going to tell you. So here's another problem: is you've probably done like Google search where you can find images, right? I used to tell people all the time, like, well, do this: go to Google and do a search for, an image, right? So let's say Atlanta skyline, and I used to think this was safe, right? Go to images, right? So then, of course, if you do this and you grab one of these images, chances are you're going to get in trouble, right? Because these are licensed generally. Some of them not, but most of them are. But I learned this trick at one time where you go to Tools and then Usage Rights and Label for Reuse. And that's how I found the Trump picture. Label for Reuse. And I was like, okay, here we go, right? Turns out this will get you in trouble too. So don't think that this is the way to get around that problem. I was in a class at Family Reunion in Vegas, and they were talking about how there's a new scam going on where what people are doing are you go and you do a search for label for reuse and you think everything's legit and you get the image you put on your website, but the terms of usage are that the image, you have to host the image on the same continent as where the image comes from. And what they'll do is they have foreign servers that are posting the image off of Cayman Islands or someplace, and then you get the image, you put it on your GoDaddy, New York-based, GeoIP-based website, or whatever the case is, and that conflict right there, you're out of the terms of agreement. And then, of course, even though they're foreign, they have domestic legal representation that uses algorithms to find the image in use, and they go after the juggler. They just go get you. I was like, oh my gosh, it is ugly business. So that was the other thing I'd forgotten. So is everybody thoroughly scared now? Hopefully,
yeah.
So
how do you get?
Well, come back next week and we'll talk about how to come to the paid class. No, I'm just kidding. So where do you go? Okay, so a couple things that I would tell you. One is that my go-to is a place called pixabay.com. I love this site. I've heard a couple others. This is a pretty good site. It's not as good as going to somebody like iStock or Getty Images. Those places have high quality catalog of images in terms of a lot of choices, right?
But expensive.
But they can be expensive. But you know what I say? If you find an image at Getty Images that captures your branding and really represents your business, consider it a business expense. Go spend $300 to $400 on an image that is the right image, and you know it when you see it, and it's a lot better than some of these other experiences that I'm telling you about. It's not a big deal. I would tell you that 95% of all my training material and my demo website and everything, I get my images from Pixabay. Okay. It's not the best quality, it's not the best options out there, but it's still pretty good. For example, if I did a search for, I don't know why I did New York, Atlanta skyline. So as before we did that at Google, you might even recognize, if you have good, if you're a visual person, you might recognize some of these images actually did show up, The first row are sponsored by Shutterstock. So these, if you click through them, you're going to go down a pay trail where you're going to have to pay for the first, those rows. And this, I guess this pays the bill, so to speak, for the company, right? But then below that, these are available. You can just get these, right? So you can just use those images if you want to. So if we're wanting to put a skyline image into my website, what I would tell you is, first off, when you're picking out an image, it's helpful to know that the ideal size, look at what we're doing. We're filling this width and this height, right? This rectangle, the optimum size is 1600 pixels by 660 pixels. So 1600 pixels wide by 660 high. If you get that number, that's like a perfect fit for that footprint.
600 by 660?
1600 by
660. By 660.
Yeah, by 660, yeah. So keep that in mind. And then also just, if you know, a real rudimentary way to find a good image is realize that you're filling a rectangular shape. Keep that in mind, rectangular shape, as we come over here and look at images. So images like this one here would be a decent candidate. Without even knowing the size, it is that rectangular aspect. It has a pretty good chance of fitting in. It may get cropped and it may get smushed a little bit, but it may be tolerable. Compared to something like this image here, which is a square, it's going to be a train wreck. If you load that image up into that space, what the Placester system is going to do is it's going to auto crop it, and it's going to crop like the top third and the bottom third out, and it's going to make it a rectangle. You're going to get this little cross section of the middle of it. It's going to look wrong. So keep in mind the number, but also look for things that are already situated in a rectangle. Now, if you see an image that's just absolutely, you got to do it, and you're just like, oh, this is my image, and I don't care that it's not a rectangle, you can use your own software to crop the image. And if you don't have software, this is worth writing down too. This is a nice online editor. It's Pixlr.com, Pixlr.com. If you hit enter on that, it should bring me to the Pixlr website, and then I can do open the Pixlr editor, and it's a web-based editor. It does require Flash, so don't get thrown off if it asks you to install Flash or like I just got the plug-in. But this is a great little online editor that allows you to browse an image from your computer, and I can upload an image, and then once I do that, I can edit it with all these tools and stuff. So cropping, layering, it's pretty good. Is it equivalent to Photoshop? No, but it sure gets the bulk of what you need to do as a salesperson, get it done. So that's an option. But anyway, I'm going to pick an image here. I think I'm going to use this one today. Is it going to be perfect? Maybe. I don't know. Let's go look at it. So I'm going to take this image here, and I'm going to click through, and now I have the option to use the free download right there. Now when I click on free download, notice it's asking me to qualify what size that I want to use. I got 640 by 225, 1280 by 450, 1920 by 675, or 3072 by 1080. So how do we choose what the right size would be? Well, you know what the optimum size is. Keep that number in mind, 1600 by 660, right? So you want to find a number that's as close as possible to that number. Look at this, 1920 by 675. It's pretty close. Here's something to keep in mind. Have you ever taken an image that's small and uploaded it to something that had a big footprint, and when you force that image up there, what does it do? It stretches it, and you lose quality, right? It's blurry, pixelated. So if you do that, if you were to go find an image that was a small little postcard dimension and you uploaded it to that footprint on Placester that's 1600 by 660, you're going to know, because when that slide comes by, it's going to look horrible, right? So when you see that, you realize, whoops, I put an image that's too small in there, right? But have you ever taken an image that's too big or bigger than the intended footprint and uploaded it to a smaller spot? You don't lose the quality. It's fine, right? So going from large to small is okay. So the idea is you want to try and get an image that's larger than your optimum size, because that won't lose quality. And so 1920 by 675 and the 3072, those are both options that are larger. Now, one of the big differences between these two is the file size. This 1920 is a 372 kilobyte file, whereas the 3072, the 974, almost an entire meg, almost 3 times. It is 3 times the size, pretty much. So with web stuff, just so you know, you don't need a high quality photo, right? The screen itself can only reach such a level of quality, and high-res photos and high-res images are really intended for print marketing, right? And you probably know that because you're in marketing, or you were in marketing. So with print material, high resolution, you can achieve and appreciate the quality. Actually, you can get it better than your human eye can see, to a point where now you're just wasting money, right? It's kind of funny. But on a computer screen, it only gets so good. You don't need high quality stuff. So if you choose the lower quality, yet it's barely bigger than our optimal size, you gain the benefit of a small file size. And what that boils down to is when your website loads, it's going to load quicker. Right? Have you ever been to a web page where the image loads and it paints across the screen, you're waiting for it to load? It's because somebody put in a high-res photo, like, oh, I want this to look great. So they loaded a high-res photo, and it's like 10 times the size it needs to be because it's a high-res, super nice photo, and really you're not even getting the benefit of it, right? So when you see that, oh, they put a high-res photo in. They really should have opted for a lower res. Now, if you're going to print something like a business card or a marketing piece, go for high res, make it super sharp. So anyway, that being said, this is going to be the right size for us. Even if this number wasn't quite right, because sometimes I'll do an example, there's some other pictures, and it'll be like 1920 by 600. And somebody will raise their hand and say, but you said, it's got to be 660 or whatever, 1600 by, what did I say? Now I've got my
660.
Yeah, 660. You can tolerate a little bit of variance, and it may crop a little bit of it off, or it may squish a little bit of the image, but it's usually going to be acceptable. Worst case scenario, download the image and go crop it. If I need it, if this image was absolutely the right image for me, and I loaded this 1920 by 675 and it looked horrible, I could download the high res, and then I could use photo editing software and I could recrop it and re-optimize it. You can go down that path if you wanted to. All right, so I'm going to download the 1920. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm not a robot. Download it, and because I'm using Chrome browser, it's putting my download at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. There it is. And here it is. I'm clicking on it, and it should be opening this image. I'm doing photos. And I didn't have to register, didn't have to sign up or anything like that or pay any money. I've got a dead-to-rights access to this photo, which is great. So I'm going to load that into my Placester site. Come back over to my Placester. Here's where we left off on slide 4. I'm going to upload, and it's going to be my downloads folder. And it looks like the image right there. Now I can add a caption to this if I want to. Welcome to Atlanta. And I can even put a link on there. I can make it clickable, that when that slide comes up, if you click on it, it would go to whatever destination I established as a web link here. In the past, somebody's asked the question, well, why would you do that? And it kind of caught me off guard. I was like, I can't think of a really good example. Somebody else in the same class, this girl, I'll never forget this. She raised her hand. She says, I'll tell you what I'll do with it. And I was like, okay, please tell us what you're going to do. And she says, now that I know how this works, she says, I'm going to go and delete all these images. And then I'm going to upload the best photo I can find for each one of my listings. Then I'm going to write in the caption, click here for a virtual tour of this listing. And then on the link, I'm going to link it to that virtual tour. And the whole room was like, writing the idea down. They're like, that is, and I was like, yeah, she's going to go far. I was like, that's a really good use of being able to caption and link these images. And so I said, I'm going to share that in class because that really does kind of turn the wheels a little bit in my mind on the potential of making these clickable. Do you have to make them clickable? No, you don't have to put a caption. Somebody else in that same conversation said, I think I'm going to take one of those images down and put a great image. I have a really nice photo of my entire team, and on the caption I'm going to put, click here to meet the team, and on the link she's going to send it to a profile that introduces the team. I was like, well, that was a pretty good idea. So maybe you could do a marketing plan. Maybe you've got an image, associated with a marketing plan, and you got, Felipe's bulletproof guaranteed marketing plan to get 10% more on your listings final price or your money back, right?
And then it sends you to a link with information.
Send you to a link with information. Actually, it sends you to a link that says, here's how the marketing plan works, and you tell them 10% of it, and then a link that says register for the whole thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right? Yeah. Make it a lead capture. Yeah. So the wheels are turning a little bit for what you could do with that. But for us today, we're going to just go with Welcome to Atlanta, and we're going to keep on showing some examples of that. So now, save that. If I go refresh the page, it's now stale, so we'll refresh it. We should get our Gray Madison's going to come up. We got our banner coming across, and we're back to 5 banners, and we should be seeing our skyline coming up. Anxious to see how it looks. There it is. Notice I got a little micro menu here where I can hit these dots. I'm like, if you click on one, it'll hold it on the image. So, is it perfect? It's not. I could do a little bit of work with that. If this was going into production, I probably would have worked with this image and maybe cut off the bottom and kept the top so I can get the point, at the very top. But I think it conveys the idea, right? So you with me. So I think that worked pretty well. I could take things a little bit further. Like me personally, I don't care for the slider. At first I thought it was great, but it kind of got old to me, and I was like, man, this thing's driving me crazy. So what I did was I finally said, you know what, I'm just going to play around with my slideshow. Yeah, and I just went in and said, okay, there it is with the blue circle. Select that, and then I just deleted all of them except for the one I liked. Look at that. I just got rid of all those, turned my 5-slide slideshow into a 4-slide slideshow. I could even come in here and rename this thing, call it Atlanta Skyline, and save that. See how I'm just kind of making this my own, right? Now I got a slideshow called Atlanta Skyline. There it is. It's got one slide in there. And now if I go recycle my page, all those other slides are gone, and it's just going to land on that single image, and it doesn't slide anymore. Just like that's what I did here. I just have a one-slide slideshow. Yeah. So it was up to you how you want to do it. It's just a nice little customization option. Everybody with me still? Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and save. Now let's come out of that. It's been set. And what I want to do, now we talked about theme selection and slideshow, while we're still fresh, I want to jump down to site info and spend some time in there and make sure we nail that, because there are some compliance topics in here. And then once we finish that, we'll go through the remaining topics until time runs out. So follow me down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down to site info, and let's focus together on site info. So site info is basically, on my website, is getting control of this area, these regions up here at the very top, and the footer at the bottom. And there's a little section in the middle, right in this region here. It's getting somewhere. It's getting control of. We'll see that in a minute. So to get things started, the site info is divided into several sections. One section is called brand. Another one's called contact details with office details. And then a couple other things. Footer links we're not going to do. We don't need to worry about that. And SEO is a topic for another day. We're not going to get into that. We're not going to optimize the content today. So what we're going to focus on are the contact and brand areas of site info. And the first thing that brand offers is the ability for you to edit your site title and tagline. A lot of times, speaking to people about their website for the first time, this can be an area of frustration because you're trying to give your site a title and a tagline. You're trying to capture the brand identity of your website, and that can be difficult at this point if you're just launching things. A lot of the title and the tagline depends on the content that probably doesn't exist yet on your website. So if you're sitting here and you're like, well, yeah, but not me. I got vision. I know my title, my tagline, what it should be. You can drop it in here. But if you're lost on that, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you some ideas of what you can maybe do. And that first thought is, more than trying to come up with a world-class title and an amazing tagline, first thing I'd say is learn the mechanics of these two blanks. Learn this. Learn that whatever you type in a site title, this is my site title. And whatever you type in your tagline, this is my tagline. And I'm going to save this to show it. Now, be sure, in order to demonstrate it, I got to have my display name and tagline checkbox checked. A lot of times people say, I've written my tagline like 30 times, it still doesn't show up. And I find out they didn't have this checkbox checked. But watch this. If I go save this, this is the first thing I'd say to learn. Learn that whatever you type in the tagline and whatever you type in the title are going to show up in these regions. There they are. This is my site title. This is my tagline. The site title gets this larger font, narrow sans serif font. This is smaller and it's in bold. It's also sans serif, and it wraps up to 3 lines wide. It can get pretty lengthy. Of course, you wouldn't really want to do that, but it does have the capability. And it's with that in mind, you can start playing around with it. Now that you know kind of the geography of your site title and tagline, play around with them. In the case of affordablegeorgiacabins.com, I knew that I was going to buy that domain, and I was going to add it to my website. So it made sense, I was like, well, I already know what my domain is going to be, so I put that in as my site title. So, you know, you can put in your web address. TreehouseFinder.com used to be one I'd put in there all the time, you know, or Affordable Georgia Cabins, or, you know, www.scotthardy.com. Welcome to scotthardy.com. You know, you can play around with these things a little bit. Welcome to. Maybe I don't need the www. Welcome to scotthardy.com. You know, you can do that sort of thing. For a tagline, if you don't have a tagline for your business, you know, buying and selling real estate is my dream come true or something. I don't know. You know, I see different taglines and different grades of taglines. If you don't have your tagline worked out, one that you can borrow from Keller Williams is because your move matters. Not .com, but 3 dots. That's a boilerplated Keller Williams that you can just use it easy, because your move matters. Now, if I save that and just go evaluate it on my site and see what I think about it, come in here and start looking at it. Welcome to scotthardy.com, because your move matters. Starting to get some meat here, starting to fill out a little bit. If your thinking is more of a brand identity and tagline traditional sense, and you've got some thoughts in your mind and you're incorporating them, great, go ahead and put them in there. But if you're really at a loss and you're just not sure what to do, another stimulation of thought process, I'd say, is consider doing this. Go into the site title and tagline and utilize these for call to action and a statement of value, right? So an example of a call to action could be something like call Scott Hardy today for a free buyer seller consultation. That's just kind of my go-to thing, right? You maybe have something else. Maybe it's something you really are good at. Maybe you're a staging expert. Maybe you're a flipping expert or something. I don't know, right? But the point is, I'm writing a call to action. I'm telling them, call Scott Hardy today for a free buyer's consultation. And then for a tagline, you know, you can use something like, hey, because your move matters. Maybe so. Let's go see what it looks like. Save that, go check it out. Starting to get some further definition in there, you know. But I'll tell you what, this is getting kind of long. So here's another example of working with the mechanics of it. Realize, okay, the message is starting to fill out, but now we got a bit of a layout kind of thing going on where maybe it makes sense to reciprocate these, and maybe it makes sense to just look at that and see what it looks like. So consider that. Here we go, watch. If I change this around, have you ever been in this situation? This is I usually show this at some point. I've been told this is a nice little tip. So watch this. Have you ever been in a situation where you want to move things around? Like, if I copy this, right? If I cut that, all right, now I want to move that over here. So if I paste it, I'm going to lose that. But if I cut that, I'm going to lose what I copied, right? So have you ever seen this before? So you saw me cut this. There it is right there. So watch this. I'll cut it. This is power trick. Highlight that, but then instead of copying or cutting it, now I'm going to come back with a left click while it's highlighted and just drag and release it. Wow. And then paste it. Tell you what, that'll save you so much time and money. Now that you know that, if you didn't already know that. All right, that's just a parlor trick. But still, because your move matters, maybe I'll come in here and just say something a little bit more bold. Your move matters. I like that. Call Scott Hardy today for a free buyer-seller consult. I lost part of it. Call Scott Hardy today. How about this? Call Scott Hardy for a free buyer-seller consult. Oh, am I running out of room? They have limited it? No. That's new. This one, look at that. They're giving me no limit. I can get tons of characters out of it. This one, they are limited. Wow. Call Scott Hardy. So maybe for that, I'd have to shorten it out. Call Scott Hardy today. Interesting. I didn't realize that they were limiting that. I feel like that's a new change. Recycle it and see if I like it or not. Actually, I do like that. I like that a lot better. Your move matters. Cost not hardy today. And I'm just coming up with something if I don't have the classic branding in mind, I mean, with like affordable Georgia cabins, look what I've done. I've reinforced my brand name, and then in my tagline, I put a value statement. We find affordable cabins throughout Georgia. Call us today. So, see, I got a lot more in that, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
See, I think they changed it. Yeah. So, the value statement is, hey, we find affordable cabins throughout Georgia. Well, there's a lot of value in that statement because that's obviously a challenge, right? You got to go to work every day as a consumer so you can afford to buy the cabin. Let me go find it. That's what I do. I go find the affordable cabins, right? And you can go to cabins.com and try to find something, or you go to affordablegeorgiacabins.com and let me help you save a lot of money, right? I mean, you can see the value statement in there with a little bit of pressure. Go ahead and call us today. Let's get this thing moving. So anyway, I just thought that was a good example of a more classic marketing spin. But if you don't have that thought out, maybe you can do something kind of a little bit more generic. I'll let you work on that. Think about that for a minute and come back to that when you're ready. Let's push forward for a bit. Go into site info. That doesn't have anything to do with compliance, but this piece does. This piece I'm going to show you is a little sticky with compliance, and it's uploading a logo. So just bear with me here, and we're going to tile this together in a minute in terms of the compliance stuff. So what we want to do when we upload a logo is everybody needs to upload the GREC approved logo. Do y'all already have a logo up there?
Yeah.
What does yours say?
It's just KW Peachtree Road.
You have KW Peachtree Road?
Yeah.
Let me see yours. Okay. And this is yours. Yeah, okay. So yeah, y'all got something good in there. Y'all are on a good start. So sit back, watch this example for a little bit. I want to show you a couple things, right? And here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload the KWPC Road logo because that is the broker compliant logo. The fact that you've got that up there tells me that the word's around, right? So that's good. So that part's done, but I want to show you some aesthetics and some tricks with the logo that'll help improve your website and possibly make yours look a little bit better. So watch this. I'm going to get my hands on the logo. And if you don't already know, there's more than one place you can get the logo. You can get it at kw.com. You can get it probably on our internet. But you can also go to rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com, which is my website. And if you go over here to where it says downloads and then Market Center logos, it'll take you to a page that has all 6 of the Rawls Group office logos, right? And so if I download the Peachtree Road logo, there it goes down bottom left, it starts to download a zip file. If you don't know what a zip file is, basically it's a collection of files that are zipped together into one download. In a minute, when I unzip this, you're going to find that in the contents of that zip file, there's about 20 files in there, right? And what they are is it's the Keller Williams Peachtree Road image reproduced in different file formats that range from JPEG, PNG, BMP, GIF, TIFF, CMYK 2000, different themes. Some feature a red KW, like you see on the screen there, with black lettering. Others feature a white KW with black lettering or gray lettering. Some of them are on clear transparent backgrounds, PNG files. Some are on white solid backgrounds, like a JPEG. And we're going to talk about those differences for just a minute. So here it is. It's downloaded. If you're not familiar with zip files, just sit back and watch this part. If it's confusing you, don't let it intimidate you. If you need help with this on your computer before you leave today, I will be happy to help you out. I've done this example so many times it's getting kind of crazy. Let me remove some of these for a minute. Okay, so here it is, 271_Peachtree Road is a zip file. You see it's got a little Z logo on there. And what's happened on this computer, somebody's added a piece of software called 7-Zip. So here's how I deal with zip files. I right-click on the zip file. I get this little menu that comes up, and because somebody put 7-Zip, which is software designed to unzip zip files, I see 7-Zip in the right-click menu. If I'm on Windows, which you both are, and I don't have 7-Zip, and you right-click on a zip file, and you don't have a software like 7-Zip, then the actual menu itself in the middle will say something like extract or extract here, because Windows 10 can handle a zip file without the help of the zip file software. But for whatever reason, somebody's put 7-Zip on there and it adds this extra step. The extract that I need is just over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and say extract the files. And it's saying, okay, we're going to extract the files and we're going to put them in a folder called, and I can name it. And look at that, it's going to put it in a directory called downloads, which is my downloads folder. And it's going to create a new folder called 271_PC. All right, that's great. I'm going to go ahead and say okay to that. It unzips, and there it is, right there. It created that folder in a flash. There's the original zip. Can't really use a zip file till you unzip it. There's the payload there. Now I can use this. I can open this up and look, and there's the different file types all collected based on different themes. So we're going to manipulate these a little bit, get you exposed to what the different functions are. So here we go. Everybody with me so far?
Yeah.
All right. Y'all heard of zip files before?
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes I'm in a room full of people who are like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So anyway, so here's how it goes. So I'm going to be uploading a couple of examples one by one. So I'm going to come over here, go to Peachtree Road. This is our unzipped folder right there. Just trying to show you, yeah, but there's no zipper. It's open and stuff's falling out of the folder. Look at that. It's ready to go. All right. There's my collection. And to get the ball rolling, I'm going to do a lot of work to begin with in the RGB folder. I get nervous with a marketing person in here. So here we go. So I have 3 options in front of me. And in Windows, what I can do is hover my mouse over an option in a file. And if I wait without moving long enough, I get the little balloon that pops up and tells me some information. In this case, I'm looking at the first piece of information in that balloon that says item type is JPEG file. So I know now that this is a JPEG file. If I come over here and hover over the second one, it comes up and it says item type is a PNG file. Okay? And the next one, if I hover over it, information comes up and the first sentence says item type, another PNG file. Here's what you need to know about these. The JPEG, in this example, features the composition with a red KW and black lettering presented on a solid white background. That's the JPEG. That's characteristic of the JPEG. The PNG file, this first one features the red KW and black lettering presented on a clear, transparent background. PNG files are capable of a transparent background where the JPEG is not. And then over here to the right, very similar, but this time it's red KW with white lettering on a transparent background, whereas over here it's got red KW with a black lettering, white lettering. Both are transparent backgrounds. And here's how that applies to our website. I'm going to upload the JPEG first. All right, so the JPEG is up there, and I believe y'all have the JPEG. You're going to be able to tell me yes or no in a minute. So before I can commit the upload of a file for my logo, as before I had to hit the checkbox display name and tagline, I still have the similar choice right here. Display logo needs to be checked. If it's not checked, you can upload your logo a million times, it's not going to show up. And I've had that phone call for people. So checkbox. Here I go, I'm going to hit save, and now watch what it does to my web page. Where am I? Here we go. Recycle the page. And there we go. So now I've got the Keller Williams Peachtree Road JPEG image in position on my website. What do y'all think about it? Is that what yours looks like, by the way?
Yeah.
You go to your website.
Well, I've got just a white background right now.
Oh, so yeah, right. So you get by.
Yeah,
exactly.
I get by. But if not, then
you have this problem, which is this block, right? This blocky background. For whatever reason, it seems like if somebody says, "Hey, you got the Office logo," the one that gets passed around like 90% of the time is the JPEG. That's the one that I see everywhere. I see that on people's business cards. So they have an awesome black background, super nice business card. The JPEG Office logo on there, and it just detracts from the look, you know? So
where were those files again?
I got them here at Rawls. I went to rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com,
Okay.
went to downloads, and then clicked on Market Center logos, and that gets you to the list. You can also hit search on my website and just type logos and it'll find it. So here I am, got my logo up there. Now take a look. So like Felipe says, it's not a big deal for him because he doesn't have a filled in background, right? If I went back to my theme selection and came in here and took myself off of the colored in background, hit save, and if I recycle the page now, hey, I can get by with that, right? Because it lines up. And so that's what happens a lot of times. That particular JPEG is passed around And it works great on the letterhead, on a white business card, on a white T-shirt. You know, that's going to be fine. But as soon as you go and change the color, obviously in the background, you've got to deal with that situation of the blockiness of that background. I'm going to save mine in, oh, did I put that in red? I did. I didn't want to put it in red. I'm going to put it in gray. Oh, it is in gray. All right. So back to my website, I'm going to recycle it back to gray. And I want you to just consider, or go further into this example. So now I'm going to go back into site info. And I'm going to upload a different candidate file. I'm going to upload file here for my logo. This time, instead of the JPEG, I'm going to move over to the PNG file, red KW, with black Peachtree Road, transparent background. Hit save. Lock that choice in, and now go recycle the page. And you can see, we should see some level of improvement on it. There it is. Hey, big improvement actually, right? Because now it's nice and clean. But we've still got some things to consider. The Peachtree Road part is not quite right. It's hard to read on that dark background, isn't it? Back into site info. Just taking the example a little bit further, I'll upload file this time, and now I'll try the third option, which is PNG file featuring red KW and white lettering presented on a clear, transparent background. And I'll save that, and let's see what it looks like. Way better, right? Super clean. Now, of course, if I were to choose this option and go in for a red Madison, let's take a look and see what we do with that. So if I change my Madison to red and save it, here we go. I'm going to recycle. Here comes the results. Change that. Look what happens to the logo, right? I lose the KW because it's bleeding in, or it's blending in with the red background. So here's the last example I'll show you. In a situation like that, where you've got the red background, you can go into site info, upload file. Now I've done the work so far in this example. The work has been in the RGB folder. I'm going to come up a level, come out of the RGB folder, there it is, and I'm going to go into the black and white folder and work with one of these. Now I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm not going to step through all these. I'll just tell you that this last option right here is a PNG file, and it may be hard to see from your seat, but if you look closely, you might be able to tell it features a white KW with white Peachtree Road lettering featured on or presented on a clear, transparent background. Here we go. Now I'm going to upload that one, and that should look pretty darn good on a red background. Here it is. Recycle the page. Nice, right? Doesn't that look good? Looks professional, right? So with that, I would just want you to realize that there's these options of different file formats. So if you're working with a vendor or somebody who's doing some marketing for you, and they say, hey, do you have an office logo? Like, I sure do. And they said, what format is it in? You know, depending on what the project, maybe they're doing a bumper sticker or a coffee mug, and maybe it's in white, maybe it's in black, maybe they're doing a business card for you or some sort of a promotional marketing, you know. What you can do is you can send them this link that I've got on the screen here. So look at my page. We just clicked on Peachtree Road, but look to the left. This link, you can highlight and copy that link and put that in an email to your developer. Copy link. Put that in an email and say, here's a link to my logo, and it's all different formats. Figure out what you need. And let them have it all right? So if they're doing a billboard, they know to get the TIFF file and make your billboard. If you're doing a T-shirt, they know to get the PNG file and make your T-shirt. You know? So it's a nice resource to have. You just got to be comfortable with the zip file. I've thought about rebuilding this page and letting you go through and just painstakingly just list every one. Like you can either zip or you can pick the specific one you want. Because I find that it's not uncommon. Folks are not comfortable with the zip file. So it's all about what you're comfortable with. All right, does that make sense? If you played around with that and didn't get the results you want on your website today on the logo, just know before you leave today, I can make sure that we get the correct logo up there for you.
Just get a quick question.
Okay.
For example, I did a white on white.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to do that?
Yeah,
I mean, I want to have Keller Williams, but just for.
You're allowed to do that, but you're going to run into a compliance issue with that I'm about to show you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd recommend you get it visible. So
Okay.
you would have maybe an argument because if you look closely,
You can see
it. But the compliance issue is all about prominence and being obvious. So you're probably going to run into trouble with that. All right. So back into site info. Now stay focused with me now. I know it's not the funnest thing in the world, but we want to get through and make sure this is done correctly. So one more image. We can do this real quick and then we'll get into contact. Favicons. Have you heard of a favicon before? Favicons are everywhere. They're on my screen right now. If you look at the tabs of the different websites, look at this on the far right. I've got the Pixabay websites up. That green square with the PX, that's my Pixabay site. That's their icon. That's their favicon right there in green. And here's my Wikipedia for Brookhaven. Look at the W that's in the tab. That is their favicon. And then if you look over at Placester tab I got, it's got the Placester logo. There it is. There's the My KW tab with the red square featuring a white KW. Here's Rawls Group Help Desk featuring the We're Number One KW logo, which is the broken up red and black. That's the favicon for rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com. And then if you look right here where it says Your Move Matters, there's a little file holder right there. There's no favicon because nothing's been uploaded. Here's the upload right here. We haven't put anything in there. I've got a blank. So favicon is interesting. I didn't give a lot of credit to or a lot of weight to a favicon in the past, but I was at a class last year. They were talking about Google SEO and some of the things that Google looks at. One of the things that Google looks at is whether or not your site is complete or incomplete. So if you have broken links, it's incomplete. Or broken, malfunctioning, it ranks your site lower. If your site is complete, it'll rank your site higher. And it turns out by adding a favicon, it adds towards the completion of your website. So I used to always think of favicons as like a vanity license plate, like not necessary, but hey, if you like it, go for it. But now I realize that, hey, it's easy, low-bearing fruit in terms of improving your site relevance. It's not going to make or break your SEO positioning, but hey, anything that helps, right? So you can upload any image you want, right, and get it, and it'll add it. One day I put my headshot, just for fun, I loaded my headshot into the favicon field, and it took my headshot and it squished it real small, and it placed it in the tab. And if you look closely, you could tell it was me. It was really kind of funny, you know?
Do you still have it?
Nah, it was pointless, right? But what I did, look at this at Affordable Georgia Cabins. Look at the favicon. It's this KW. It features a white background with red KW. That's a custom one that I created, and I think it looks pretty darn good compared to this one, right? And I'm going to show you how to get your hands on that favicon because it will look good on your website. It's a good image to use. It took me about 5 or 6 revisions to get this right. So here's where I'm going to get my favicon. You can get your hands on my favicon by going to Rawls Group Help Desk. This time you're going to need to use the search feature. It's at the top right corner in yellow. It says search. And just do a search for the word favicon. And what you'll get is 2 results. Click on the first result, which just says KW favicon. And what this is this is a knowledge base article that I started writing that just really never made it out. And funny, look at the web address, treehousefinder.com. It's a bit of a legacy there. And in fact, in Safari, look where they put the favicon right there. They put it in front of the URL, right? That's the old way to do it. Here's the image. It's right there. This image is optimized perfectly for favicon use. If you right-click on it and then choose Save the Image As, you'll just get a straight download of the image. It's already on my desktop there. I'll download it. Yeah. If you just left-click on this image, it downloads as a zip file. I have no idea. It must have been late that night. I have no idea why I made it a zip download because it's only one file, but I did. So if you want to ease the pain of the zip file, do a right-click and then save the image as, and you can save it and use it directly. So now that I've got that image, I'm going to go back over to my Upload Favicon and hit Upload File, navigate to where I've got my, where is it, downloads, there it is, Favicon. And now I've got a perfectly optimized red KW on a white background that'll look really well. Because what it does is when you upload an image, it does its best. It highly compresses it and it resamples it, and it can get squishy and oblong and weird looking. So it took a little bit of effort. All right, now that that's done, here is the serious side of this page, the contact details. We want to make sure that we get this right. So again, I want you to watch what I do because I'm going to make a point. Follow along with me, but don't save your work. Just follow along this far. So for your name, put your name. Don't put Scott Hardy, put your name. For title, leave it blank. Or if you want, you can put a title, but I'd say leave it blank. For email, put the email address that you most want to be contacted on. So for me, I can put shardy@kw.com. It can be your marketing email, it can be your direct email, whatever you want to do, depending if you're by yourself, if you have somebody working with you. For phone number, put your best phone number. My best phone number is 678-362-0316. For the next question, site header, display license number, leave it unchecked. It's optional. You can go into the profile and you can add your license number and check this, and it displays your license number. But for compliance sake, it doesn't matter. You don't need to put the whole number. And for photo, it's optional as well. If you want to put your photo in there and you brought your photo today, now's your opportunity to hit upload file and upload your photo. And if you didn't bring your photo, but you want to get a placeholder, and here's a nice little trick. If you go back to my KW, because I didn't bring my photo with me, look at this. There's my photo right there in my profile. If you've got your photo in your profile, you can right-click on that, save the image as, save it into your desktop, and now you can use that if you want to, just to kind of get by today until you upload a proper photo. All right, so now I can upload file next to my photo and put my blue shirt photo in. All right, and it's uploading now. There he goes. There he is, ready to sell you a house, a cabin.
Nice cat, yeah.
Right. All right, so that's pretty flexible, right? Getting all that part in. Office details. You've got to put the broker name in as either Keller Williams Realty, Peachtree Road, and is the road spelled out? Yes, I believe it is. I believe you need to put road. Or you can put Keller Williams Peachtree Road and drop the realty. Me personally, I drop the realty. The reason is because I take the realty out because I look at the image that we used, and in the image they put Keller Williams Peachtree Road and without the realty in there, so I'm going to match that. I like that, makes me feel consistent. But from a legality standpoint, you can do either way. I recommend Keller Williams Peachtree Road, make it consistent with the logo. Your call, though. For office website, you can leave that blank. We're going to review these to make sure you got them right. I'm just getting the answers out here right now. Website for office, you can leave that blank. For office phone number, we must put the broker's phone number in. So I'll get that real quick. Peachtree Road. Hello, Peachtree Road. Try that again. There we go. So the phone number is the 404-419-3500. That is the broker's number. That is the answer that we need here for the phone number. Office email, you can leave that blank. Office address, 804 Town Boulevard, Suite A 2040. Is it Brookhaven or Atlanta? Do y'all know?
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yep, Atlanta and then 303. All right, so Atlanta, 30319. Okay, this is the correct answer of all the details, and that's pretty strict, with the exception of Keller Williams Peachtree Road or Keller Williams Realty Peachtree Road. The rest of it is just how it needs to be. Everybody with me? Mm-hmm. For site header, display office name or display office address, I recommend you leave it unchecked. Now sit back and watch. I'm going to make an example out of my site. So save. I'm going to save what I have. You just hold what you got because we're going to edit what you got. If I go look at my website, recycle it, it should start to fill out here. Get some weight on it. Got my name, my photo up there. Great. Got my logo. So here's the rule. The rule is that for broker prominence compliance rule says that if you advertise listings, which are we advertising listings? Yep, we are. There they are right there. That your name cannot show up more prominent than the broker's name, right? The idea behind that is interesting because Craig Coffey came out. He's the commissioner. He came out and did an awesome seminar about 2 years ago about the anatomy of the complaint, the anatomy of an audit, and all this stuff. And what he explained is the prominence rule is that they want consumers to have a clear understanding of the chain of command here in terms of if there's a problem. Basically, the commission doesn't want consumers going straight to Greg for a problem. If they have a problem with you, they want the consumer to go to your broker first. And then if things aren't resolved, then it needs to go at higher levels they can. And so the prominence rule just basically establishes who the broker is. And so it basically says that your name cannot show up more frequently than the broker's name. And if we do a simple count here, if we look how many times do we see the Peachtree Road broker name, we see it once in the logo, one time. And as we move down, we see it again at the bottom, Peachtree Road, Keller Williams Peachtree Road, and then that's it. This doesn't count over here. This is the national brand logo. This is not our broker branded logo. So Keller Williams Peachtree Road only showed up twice. Now we count my name, and not my name in sentences, but my name as in contact information. It's once. Look at this, twice, 3 times. So it's 3 to 2.
What about the call?
So yeah, so this is okay. This is not my contact information. This is in context, right? So it sounds like not a big deal, but it is a big deal because agents are getting a $500 fine over this rule right here with their site set up just like I've got mine. And so we got together and started talking about this and said, well, my gosh, what are we going to do to fix that, right? And so one of the things that word has gotten down to Placester, obviously, because Placester now offers these little check boxes that say display the office name, display office address, but it's ugly. When you say yes to those, it just kind of plasters them on there and it doesn't look so good. Do it this way and it looks really sharp. Watch this. If we go back up here where your name is, and if you put in, we found out that these little fields can also read basic HTML commands. If you put a greater than sign followed by BR and a less than sign, and then continue with the broker name, Keller Williams Peachtree Road. Now you can save that. What that BR command does is it means break return. It's HTML language that says to the computer, everything following the first string of text, which is this, the second string of text, which is this, gets break return, which means put it on the next line below the first string. And HTML commands don't get printed out on the page, so the consumer won't see that. So this is a bit of a little trickery going on, right? So if you follow this template, put your name, and then greater than, BR, less than, and then follow that with the broker's name. Here's the results you'll get. Watch this. When I save it and go recycle the page, now it's going to put it nice and neat. Look at that. It did Peachtree Road right below my name. Without the command, it would have made it all in one line. It would have said Scott Hardy, Keller Williams, Peachtree Road. And we've gotten kind of long and ugly looking. But with the BR command, look at this. It's going to fit down here too. Look, fits. Yay. And it's going to look pretty good down here too. And if we do the count, now we have Keller Williams Peachtree Road once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and the logo makes 5 to 3. Now you're in compliance. And that just turns out to be a big deal. So we take the time to walk through that at every class, right? So did everybody stick with me on that? That makes sense?
Yeah.
When it comes to compliance, just because I've said now that is compliant is not sufficient. Anytime you do marketing or a website, it's not enough to just think you're compliant. You are to bring that in front of your compliance officer and let them see what you're doing. So who's that here? Is that Kathy Woods?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I would recommend that when you get down to the website, you're happy with it, send her a message, say, hey, will you just take a look at my website? When you're doing marketing materials, let her see your business card, let her see your flyers and stuff. Doesn't hurt, right? And she's glad to do it. It's her job to make sure we're all compliant, and she can't do that if she's not seeing it. So get it in front of her, and she will tell you if it needs any correction. But this should get you squared away. All right. So let's get out of this site info section that we've been in, and let's go to the top where we left off. We jumped out of slideshow, so we need to jump back into certifications. And these will go a little bit faster. So certifications allows us to get control over the different icons that are showing up near the footer for our certifications. We turn the system on right here, which shows certifications on our website. Hit that checkbox to turn it on. And now you can choose up to 6 tiles to add to your website. If you choose more than 6, it'll pick the first 6 starting top left in descending order from left to right, it'll pick the first 6 it comes across. So if you choose more than 6, it's going to decide which ones to show up. But you can find equal housing opportunity. It's somewhere in the middle, second column, about halfway down. I'll choose that one because that would make sense. And National Association of Realtors is about 3 down and on the far right. Those 2, pretty much everybody in the room should be able to add. And then look through the gallery. If you see more that you have, go ahead and add it in there. If you have a certification that you don't see that's represented here, unfortunately, there's not a way to upload additional logos. So it's either what you have is showing up here or it's not. And don't make the same mistake I made for years, not for years, but for a good 6 months. I used to say, don't forget, get the Atlanta Board of Realtor right here, the ABR. And it turns out somebody corrected me in class and said, that's not Atlanta Board of Realtor, right? That's accredited buyer's resource. And I was like, wow, no, I did not realize that. Thank you. So anyway, and now if you have the ABR, go ahead and tap on it and add that to your certifications at the bottom. I've got mine set for NAR and equal housing, and I'm good to go. So I'm going to save that and move on to social networks. The next item. When you click through social networks, it brings up a form that features, I would presume, to be familiar with social media channels. They're pretty popular: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and whatnot. And the way this form works, for Facebook, for example, the way this works is you put in your profile information in this field, trailing after the words facebook.com/. What they're doing is they're building a link, right? And so they know that everybody's profile at Facebook starts out with facebook.com and a slash, but then something unique follows, and that's what they want. So you've got to go visit your profile and figure out what that is. Now, for me, as I showed you in the demo, I use a lot of Keller Williams social media because, frankly, my social media is not ready for business. I mean, my social media is dirt bikes and camping and things like that, and really not so good for Facebook yet. Well, I'd say for not Facebook, but not so good for put on my website. So I use the KW stuff. So if I go into Keller Williams or KW.com, here's how I figured out the answers to get KW social media in there. And I want to show you why I think it's a safe answer. Check it out. If I go to KW.com and scroll to the bottom of the page, there's a collection of social media badges at the bottom: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so forth. If I click on their Facebook logo, it shows me their page. And the first thing that stands out to me is that this is totally safe for my consumers to see it. It's not about listings or lead capture. It's about the culture of the company, right? So if your Facebook page is not ready to go and you want to get some content, get some social media badges up there, totally fine to use KWs. And if you want to use KWs, look at the web address up here. It says facebook.com/ and then what? Keller Williams Realty. Yours would say your name or something, right? It's going to vary, depends on how you set your profile up. But that's the answer for Keller Williams. I can copy that and then I can go paste that into my form. Now I've got the first one set up. For Twitter, I just did the same process. I went over and visited KW.com and I clicked on the Twitter badge. KWRI, there it is. Look at that. Twitter.com/KWRI. I can put that answer in. If I wanted to put my own personal in there, I know that my Twitter page is S. Hardy. If I put that in, there's any reason to show my dirt bike. I'm proud of it. I won't lie. Anyway, dirt bike and gardening as promised. So my web address is twitter.com/S. Hardy. So if I wanted my Twitter account in there, I would put the S. Hardy part in there. But if I want the KW part, the KW Twitter, I will put KWRI in there because I figured that out for them. For LinkedIn, same principle. It's a little different. If I go visit the LinkedIn link, it's longer than expected. It says linkedin.com, and then there's a slash. There's my landmark. And then it continues with company and another slash, Keller Williams Realty Inc. Don't be thrown off by the fact that the answer contains a slash itself. That's totally fine. So the complete answer for LinkedIn is up there. It's highlighted company slash Keller Williams Realty Inc. with hyphens in between the words. I'm going to copy that and paste it. LinkedIn is a little bit funny though. If you have an older LinkedIn account and you copy through this process and you copy the profile name, it may not work. And if that's the case, there's a tool in your profile. You log into LinkedIn and go to this tool that's called Vanity URL. And when you click on it, it allows you to rebuild your profile name and shorten it. And so you can do something like Scott Hardy or Scott Hardy ATL or Scott Sells ATL, or you can use like a vanity URL, and that will fit the conformity rule here. So if you go visit your LinkedIn profile and you just grab the link, pop it in, and then you test it and it doesn't work on your website, then you may need to do the vanity URL option through LinkedIn. Let me know and I'll help you with that. YouTube, I'll add that one in there real quick. So KW has a YouTube. They have a really big YouTube channel actually. There it is, YouTube. Oh, it's just going to be Keller Williams. All right. And actually, theirs starts out. It's weird when you hit Keller Williams and then it actually redirects to users/Keller Williams. You can technically you can use either one, users/Keller Williams, or you can just put Keller Williams. They did a redirect on that one, so it's easier just to type Keller Williams into the YouTube. And then maybe Instagram. And that one would be Keller Williams Realty. So they're all similar, but it's a little different. Just depends on, I guess, what is available. If you leave one of these blank, that icon simply doesn't show up on your website, so it's no big deal, right? If you leave one blank, then nobody's going to know. So with these answers in there, I can be happy with that and save it. Now I can go look at my web page. Man, I got a lot of pages open. Recycle the page here. Close some of these extra ones. And now if I look at my page, I've got my social media badges up there. If I test drive it, click on Facebook, sure enough, it takes me to KW's page. Or it could take you to your page. Good deal. All right, so I'm starting to build this page out, right? I've got my header, I've got my social media in there, it's compliant. Got my certification badges should be in here, down here, there they are. Terrific. Keep moving on here. All right, and then we're not going to do anything in search forms, nothing for us to do there. We're going to finish up our time in menu. What did I tell you? We get to the end of this thing and it's like 4 o'clock. We got 8 minutes. All right, I'm going to speak really fast. No, I'm just kidding. Like I always imagine, like at the end of the auto, like the car commercials, you know, when they start doing all the legal and start talking fast. That just makes me not want to trust you at all. You know, if somebody were to start talking to you that fast in real life, I mean, you just want to turn away and walk away. All right, so menu. Here's what we're doing. The menu gets control over this section right up here, where it says about, properties, areas, blog, testimonials, and contact. And different vintages of the Placester site have started people out with different buttons. In fact, when I started this out, it gave me a choice. Do I want a full button set or a brief button set? And I said full. So I do have default stock buttons, but I may have more than you, depending on what choices were made when yours got launched. But we should all have an about page. We should all have a properties page. I don't think we all get an areas page from blog.
I don't have a properties, but you can add, right?
Yeah, we're going to add some stuff. You don't have properties? Seriously? Let me see what you got. You have listing search, which is the old version of properties. So, man, they're just making a little bit of changes. Like when I click on properties, let's see what happens. If I click on properties, it should take me to a property search. Look, now you click on listing search, it should take you to the same page, doesn't it? Looks just like mine?
Yeah.
Yeah. They just relabeled it. Which is funny because that's one of the first things I like to talk about is the fact that buttons on a menu all have something called a label. And you can relabel these buttons. So not only can you add new buttons, but you can modify the existing buttons. So if I were to come over here and say, like it says about here, and it's going to go to, looks like it's going to go to my profile, right? Or properties, and it goes to a property search. I can relabel these buttons like this. Watch this. If I go to Placester, click on menu, here's a map of my menu. This column, about, properties, areas, blog, testimonials, contact, matches right up to what I've got here. About, properties, areas, blog, testimonials, contact, right? Same thing. So I can get in here and I can change these around a little bit. Let's say the about page. We know what happens, right? I click on about, it goes to my profile. But if I want to make that a little bit more personal, I can relabel it. Instead of saying about, maybe I come in here and change it. Look at this. When I click on it and expand it, I got a label that I can edit. All I do is just click on it to open it up, the label, and I can change that and maybe make it more personal and say about Scott. Save that and go look at it and see what I think. All right, come over here and recycle the page. And about Scott. Still functions the same way. If I click on it, it goes back to my profile. But it's more personal because it's about Scott instead of just about properties, for example. Maybe I want to make that a little more engaging, right? Properties is functional, but maybe I come back over to my menu. Maybe I relabel properties. And instead of saying properties or listing search, maybe I say something a little bit more of a pinch, like to pinch a nerve. Find your next home here. Why not, right? You can do that. Now if I go look at my page and recycle it, I'm expecting properties right here. This properties button is now going to be relabeled when I recycle the page, and it should be a little bit higher level of engagement. Find your next, doesn't that pop a little bit better? Find your next home here. It still goes to the property search. It functions the same, but maybe it's a little bit more interesting. Right? In addition to changing stuff, you can reorganize. Watch this. If I go back to my menu, and let's pretend like maybe I want the About page to be way over here or something. Well, if I wanted to move that over, I could. I could come get this About page. Notice my mouse is an arrow when it's over here, but when I come over to the left side, it changes to a directional when I hover over the objects of the menu. Arrow versus directional. With the directional engaged there, I can left click on an object, and I'm going to continue left clicking now, and I can drag it, and look what's happening on my screen. As I drag it, it positions into a new location. So right, I can come over here, and wherever the dotted line is, I got it between testimonials and contact. If I let go, it's going to bring About and drop it in the new position. So now if I refresh my page, the About Scott is just moved way over there to the area that I wanted it. Right? So you can relabel them and you can reorganize them. But wait, there's more. You can actually add stuff as well, right? So let's talk about adding content. We're going to add some things. I'm going to add 2 buttons. I know it's almost 4 o'clock, and we're going to go just a few minutes over, but it won't be bad, I promise. So we're going to add 2 buttons. The first button I want to add is going to be a button to download the mobile property search, because I think that's a valuable thing to have on your website. And the second one will be a video. All right, so to add a button, here we go. I'm going to go into Placester's control panel, find my menu. And here's the existing buttons, but look down here at the bottom. I can add. Before I hit the add button, though, in this example, what I'm going to do is I need to determine I need to tell the system what I'm adding. So before I hit the add button, I need to come over to the left, hit this pull down, and I need to choose. We should all have pretty much the same thing, but one of the things that we're looking for that we both are going to have is custom URL. Find custom URL and load that up, custom URL, and hit add. Now that I've done that, my custom URL button is now enrolled in my menu list, but look, it's opened up and it's waiting for me to put a label, a URL, and a tooltip in. So we know what a label is, right? Whatever we type in the label field is what the button face is going to look like. And if we're making a button that when you click on it, downloads the mobile app, then we want to put a label that's consistent with that, right? So a good label could be something like free mobile app or mobile app download. Imagine telling people to go download this from your website. Somebody, you say, hey, I've got a great app. You should really get it. Okay, I want it. How do I get it? Well, go to my website, affordablegeorgiacabinets.com, and click on the button that says, what is it you want to say every time? And click on the button that says free mobile app. Click on the button that says Scott Hardy's mobile app. No, I don't like that as much, you know. So you can think in the terms of the script that you're going to be using when you label this thing. You can always go back and relabel it if you find that, gosh, I don't like saying it as free mobile app every time, or free mobile app download. It's too long. You know, you may figure that out. Well, you can relabel it whenever you're ready. I'm going to say free mobile app, and I'm going to be done with that. I've also seen people say mobile property search. That's another good one. All right, so once you get your label, your button face, then you've got to provide a URL. Here's where things get a little tricky. If you remember, I told you the mobile property search app is IDX powered, right? So that means that on your app, if I search on Angela's app and look at listings, all the listings will have Angela's contact information. But if I download Felipe's app and do the same search, it's going to have your contact information, not Angela's, and not the listing agents, but yours. So if we want people downloading our app, right? If you go to my website, I want you to download my app, not Felipe's, not Angela's. How does that all work? How does the system know which app they're after? Well, the way they did it is all of us have a serial number, and we have a serialized download. You're ahead of me right there. I see you going there, right? So we all have a serialized link for our mobile app. And that's the way the system knows that it's mine or Felipe's or Angela's or Gary Keller's app. So the trick here for the URL is you've got to figure out what your custom URL is. Now Angela has gone and she's got her intake form and she's finding it. She's probably going to find it quicker than I am. If you don't have your intake form handy though, or if you don't know it, here's a way you can find out what your link is. Real easy. Watch this. Go to rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com. At rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com, where it says downloads, click on Get Mobile Agent Code. And the system should pull up this page here and it should show you what your code is. This is my code. The page has mobile URL, mobile text, agent code. They call it a code, I call it a serial number, same thing. It's this mobile URL right here, app.kw.com/KWV40MN1. That is my personal code. If you did that method with me, if you went to rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com and clicked on Get My Mobile Code, you should be seeing a page that looks similar to what's on my screen, but the difference should be that it's got your serial number. And if you want to challenge this and test it to make sure that my little HTML trick here worked, usually people would raise their hand and go, how in the world did you just do that? You just got my code? It's because I have you logged into kw.com in the background. That's how it makes this work. But to test it, to make sure we did it right, you can copy that mobile URL and go paste it into a new browser window and see if you don't get a branded download page, which I just did. So that serves as confirmation that yes, it's the right code for me because I've got my name in the middle. Now this software runs on a phone or a tablet, so that's the download link and I put it into a computer. It doesn't work, right? You can't download this software to a computer. So if you go with a computer, this is a mobile responsive page, we talked about that earlier, mobile responsive, and the system knows that I'm trying to go to the download page on a computer. That's no-go. So you get this ugly page, and this whole point is to get you to put a phone number in and text the link to your phone, because if you visit this same link on a phone, you don't get this experience that you see on the screen. It takes you to the iOS store or to the Android store, and you start the download process, the serialized version for Scott Hardy's download, which is awesome, right, if you use my link. So now I know I've got good information. I've got a link. I can finish up this URL by pasting the answer that I figured out. There it is. Everybody's link will start out the same. Looks like this, http://app.kw.com/ and then it's going to follow up with your unique serial number. So we got a label, we got a URL, and then we got a tooltip. Tooltips are optional. It's just a helper tag that comes up when your mouse hovers over the button before you click on it. I don't care for them personally, but I'm going to put one in. Such as we know that, for example, this could be a helpful tooltip. This link only works on a cell phone or a mobile device, right? So maybe, I'm not telling you to put this in for yours, but for an example's sake, I'm going to say, be sure to click this link using your smartphone. That's just an example of what you could do. I'm going to save that and go look at it. Here we go. Go back to my website and recycle the page. I should get a new button. There it is, free mobile app. And when I click on it, it takes me to my download page. All right, everything's working there. And if I want to see the tooltip, I can hover over it for a minute, and there it is. Be sure to click this link using your smartphone. So it kind of helps my visitor realize, oh, okay, it requires it. It's a mobile app. Y'all with me? Last example. I'm going to add a button for this month in real estate. So we're going to go back to menu. And this time, I'm going to come down We're going to add, and what we're going to do before we add is we're going to hit custom URL one more time. Once you've got that loaded up, hit add. And then for the label, again, this is going to be a button that when you press it, you're going to get access to this month in real estate. You could type this month in real estate if you wanted to, but that's starting to become a rather long button, really long button. It works, and you could do it. I find this always interesting to see what people come up with, and over time, this is the button that I like the most. Video update. The reason I like that is because it's got two powerful words. One is a small phrase, a small string of text, which is good for button face. And the two words are very powerful. The word video, which people love video. Google loves video. And the word update. People love update, and Google especially loves updates, right? So those are two things that really work well in terms of optimization of your system, of your site, in terms of content. And hopefully it's a button that people are going to push. Engagement is a really good thing. If somebody goes to your website and they don't click on anything at all, they just X out, you actually get a demerit in terms of Google ranking on your website. Versus somebody comes to your website and they click on something, even click on one thing, then you're actually going to get merit. Because Google says, you got some engagement. At least people came to your website and they clicked on something. And if people come to your website and they click on a bunch of things, like you may wonder on rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com why I put my whole world up there. Well, if you want my video, you got to go to my website and click on it. You want to get a help desk ticket, you want to get a remote control session with me, you want to get the logo, you got to go to my website. And I'm getting all kinds of click activity on my website, and it's pushing my rank up higher and higher. So video update I thought was a really good button recommendation because it has all those qualities. Now for the URL, it's not a serialized URL. We're all going to use the same common URL. Here's where you can find it. Case in point, go to my website, rawlsgrouphelpdesk.com, and click on search at the top right in the yellow where it says search. See, I just got to click right there. We all just clicked on it. Google said, what's happening at Rawls Group Help Desk? People are there, they're clicking on it. Do a search for this code. I'm going to give you a code for this month in real estate. Here it is. The code is TMIRE. For you code breakers out there, that is this month in real estate. It's not very big, not very hard. TMIRE, hit enter, and it should take you to one link as a result called links for TMIRE. Click on it, and it's just another knowledge base article that never quite made it to press, but it's a great utility here because what I've done is I've provided the link in big, bold letters. But more importantly, I deadened the link so when you click on it, it doesn't go anywhere, making it super easy to copy. You ever try to copy a link and you're in the middle of copying it and you end up visiting the link instead of copying it? So this makes it a lot easier. Just go to this and just copy that. Heck, you can even just triple click on the whole thing and grab it.
Is this an auto update?
It auto updates. That's what makes this link special. It's embed. It's a command that says embed is full screen, so the video will play in full screen, and it automatically updates each month. So we'll paste that answer in. Tooltip is optional. You could put something like check back each month for the next update. Whatever. You don't have to put it in there. It's your call. All right. So I've saved that. I'm going to refresh my page. And there's my video update button. I can go ahead and click on that, and I should get
Welcome to This Month in Real Estate for September
I think the volume's
2018.
turned off on the
Here
speakers.
are just a few of the national real estate numbers we're tracking for you right now. According to the National Association,
There it is.
welcome to This Month in Real Estate for September 2018.
And that updates each month.
Here are just a few of the national real estate numbers we're tracking for you right now.
Okay.
According to the National
Did you
Association
recommend
of
keeping your
Realtors,
favorite
the
listings on there?
Your favorite?
I have something that says your favorite listings. I guess that's where people can favorite things.
Yeah, they can. Where do you see that? Let me see on yours.
It was kind of already in there.
Oh, was it? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So what that is it is a lead capture option.
Oh, okay.
So the idea is they click on it and says, oh, you want to bookmark listings or your favorite search? Sure, you can do that, but you got to create an account. That's
Okay.
the idea behind
Perfect.
it.
I can keep that.
Okay, that's interesting. See, my new template didn't include that. I've forgotten about that. You've got more of the older templates.
Yeah.
So, yeah, changes. They're just going through little changes. Well, folks, I have showed you now everything I intended to show you. We didn't get to any extra stuff really, but I did show you, without missing anything, the basics of everything on our list today. And it is now 10 after 4. So we did pretty good. It's always a challenge to end right at 4 o'clock. But I hope that you learned something today. I hope your website's advanced and you've got some progress on it. And I hope you got time to stay for a little bit because I'm not going anywhere. So if you got some questions or something like that, now's the time. I'd be happy to answer those. And we'll see if we can take this a little bit further. I'm going to go ahead and move our YouTube people over so they can see us while we're doing our little open house. I mean, not open house, but workshop. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So what you got?
So I realized just now that there are 2 different, like this is not the
Yes.
one. And what sucks is that I bought a domain last week and they directed the traffic to this domain instead of what I just spent all this time working on.
Mm-hmm. So at Keller Williams right now today, we have 3 available websites.
Okay.
Which is kind of crazy here. So if we look at MyKW, there are 2 sites found underneath here. This plus sign under My Marketing,
Okay.
eEdge, and eAgency.
Okay.
And of course, you know where today's is. It's in the black technology band up there, right?
Right.
So here's what's happened. So eAgency is like our legacy product. It's been out for as long as I've been here. I've been here since 2004. And back in the day, eAgency was the backbone of our in-house product marketing system and website system, right? And then maybe 5 or 6 years ago, eEdge came out. And it's a relationship that KW merged with Market Leader, a company called Market Leader. And they said, we want to level up our in-house products. And so Market Leader was tapped to provide us a database system, a marketing system, and a website system. And for the last 4 or 5 years or so, or 5 or 6 years, they've been our new in-house system for marketing, database, and websites. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, Placester emerges on the scene with KW, and KW says, hey, we want to level up our websites. And so they tapped on Placester's shoulder and said, hey, build us some website systems. And so where the confusion is all these systems are still live, right? Even eAgency, you can go and you can build an eAgency website if you want to. It's an old product, though. And so where the confusion lies is this. Today, Market Leader provides us with a database and a marketing system, right? Postcards and direct mailing and email marketing. And that's still considered the current in-house product. But when it comes to website, the Placester site is considered by KW to be the in-house product. And so there's a little bit of disconnect because Market Leader still provides a website as well. And we're saying, no. Out of the 3 components that Market Leader does, use their database, use their marketing, but then go to Placester's website and try to weave these together for your current system. And the long-term goal here is KW has said that they've become a technology company and they're changing how they do stuff. They're no longer going to use bolt-on technology, which is what we see here, bolted-on products and stuff. And because we're a technology company hiring the top talent into our company, we're now building this stuff in-house. And we're going to honor our contracts, we're going to honor those relationships, and as they expire, we're going to retire them, and we're going to start seeing in-house products that we have 100% control over and that work towards our best interests. That are one of the big challenges with bolt-on technology is they monetize the top shelf features of those products, and so that's kind of frustrating. So anyway, that's the history lesson of what's going on. And so what you just showed me is a Market Leader website,
Okay.
right? So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go to GoDaddy and just have them point it to your Placester site, right?
Okay.
Do you know your GoDaddy login information?
Well, it wasn't actually through GoDaddy. It
Who was
was
it?
through, I got an email from the Atlanta Board of Realtors that allowed us to have 1 year free of a .realtor domain.
Oh, okay.
But they directed it to
Yeah.
the Market website and then my business cards have the Market Center website because that was on what was on the intake form and not what we just did.
So what does your business card have?
It has, sorry, there's a freaking
I know, I hate that.
it is whatever was on the intake form is what I put on my business cards, and that is Angela HG at kwrealty.kw.com.
Yeah,
And what we just spent all that time editing was automatically linked to kw.com.
right. So
How many cards did you get? Lots
Like
of
1,000.
1,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
Of course I did.
So
Of course, right?
Right.
So if you look closely at my address here, let's see. If we go to look at what my address is for my Placester site, it's scotthardy1.kw.com, and then look at here scotthardy.kwrealty.com. If it's still up, is it still up? Scott, did I misspell something? Scott Hardy dot. Maybe you know what it is. I think it's just, oh, there it is. Wow, it just barely came up. There's my market leader site. Haven't seen this thing in a couple of years, really. See the address, how it's, this time it's scotthardy.kwrealty. So this domain right here, this kwrealty.com, is owned by market leader. And in this example here, scotthardy1.kw.com, the kw.com part, this is owned by Keller Williams, right? And so what they do is they do what's called a subdomain. They create this little prefix, scotthardy1.kw.com, and then they mobilize this part right here. So for every agent that comes on board, they just make that a unique phrase, and then they can instantly propagate 180,000 templates for everybody, right? That's how they do it. The trouble is if you go marketing this, consumers don't understand usually something, dot something else, and then finally .com. They would understand scotthardy.com, but they wouldn't understand scotthardy.kwrealty.com. That just blows their mind. In fact, and that's a good example for me because scotthardy.com belongs to a silversmith out in Arizona, right? So if you were my consumer and you said, what's your web address? And I said, it's scotthardy1.kw.com. And then 3 days later, you may go, what was his address? scotthardy.com. You're not even going to see me. You're going to see this Western silversmith guy. You're going to be like, hey, can you sell me a house and maybe a belt buckle? You know what I mean? So it's dangerous because consumers think in terms of .com. Also, you never know. KW could wake up tomorrow and say, guess what, everybody? We're going to build websites, and everybody's getting a new website starting next week. And guess what? You get a new web address too. And for people that have been marketing these in-house web addresses for years and branding them, that's fairly disruptive, right? So what you want to do is you want to gain control over your domain by buying a domain from a reseller like GoDaddy.
Right.
And in your case, you got the realtor.com. So is it a wrong answer to have the realtor.com? I'm not going to say it's a wrong answer, but I would say that anytime somebody's asked me for advice for a domain name, I've always suggested that you get a domain name available with the ending in .com because of what your consumers will remember. And I just think people may not remember the .realtor. It's not an intuitive domain extension.
Right.
It's clever. I'll give it that because it matches up to the industry, right? And and if I wanted a scotthardy.com, obviously I just told you the problem's already taken, but I bet you scotthardy.realtor is available.
Right.
So I may be inclined to get that because it's available. But then when you look at the big picture and go, well, the consumers are going to be still putting scotthardy.com in, you see the problem, right? So when it comes to getting a domain name, have you tried your first and last name.com to see if it's available?
No, I didn't even look. I just kind of on a whim got it.
What's your last name?
It's Guyton, G as in George, Uyton.
I'm going to need a review on that. Hang on.
Yeah.
So if you just go to GoDaddy.com, is it Angela?
G as in George, Uyton.
So just to get the ball rolling, a first and last name, and I bet you this is going to be available because your last name is unique enough.
Okay.
If you search that at GoDaddy, I bet you that'll come up available. Now, did I misspell anything?
Nope.
And is there any chance that this is already taken? I mean, that you've already got it, or somebody you know has gotten that for you?
No.
Is it okay if I go to it real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. I've learned to ask that question too. Sometimes you never know. Let's see what happens. Did somebody?
Can you buy more than one domain and have it directed?
Yep, you sure can. So there is. You are not the original Angela. No, you are the original Angela Guyton. This person's an imposter. Look at that, Angela. I would have never guessed. I would have bet money that was going to be available. So that makes things a little challenge. So a little challenging because somebody's got your name. Just like me, ScottHardy.com is already gone. So a lot of times I tell people start with your firstlastname.com if that's available. That's a great starting place, and then you can add additional domains, to your strategy. In your case, where your name is already taken, I think you're going to need to look at a little bit different focus. What you're going to need to do, it's just my opinion, but when you've got two different types of audiences. You've got, if you look at the MREA model, they'll tell you got your have-nets and your have-not-nets, right? So in a case where you're using your first and last name, generally that would be marketing to your sphere.
Right.
People already know you.
Right.
Hey, how do I get to your website? I heard you got into real estate. What's your web address? It's angelaguiding.com. Oh, cool. They put it in. Makes sense, right? Then the other audience, the people you've not met, they really aren't thinking in terms of your first and last name. The people that you are looking to do business with that you've not met, what you have in common with them is geography, niche, and value systems, right? So somebody who you're trying to find on the internet that you've never met, they're looking for single-family homes in Brookhaven, maybe, for example, and that's what you're selling.
Right.
So that's where your commonality is. The trouble is you're not the only one selling in that area.
Right.
So what sets you apart and kind of sets you apart from all the noise, if you will, of your competition is a value system, which is why, and I'm kind of getting into my domain class a little bit right now, but I'll tell you that formula of geography, niche, and value system is the key to being able to coming up with a domain that's going to be effective in terms of meeting and pinching a nerve on the people that you're trying to work with. Right? So I would encourage you to spend a little bit of time thinking in terms of geography, niche, and potentially a value system. The value system is something that separates you from all your competition. It's something that you do that your competition is not doing or is not willing to do, or something that you can do that your consumer is not able to do. It used to be just knowing what was on the market with a value system, right? Back in the day, people had to go and get the real estate book at the grocery store. I remember as a kid, my parents were buying a house, they'd get the book. And it was a big deal to go read, look at the book, find something you like, then call the agent and find out, is this even available? And that became the value system. The phone rang because the agent knew and you didn't know, is that available, right? But now, it's a different game because the consumers are educated and they're knowing as much about what's available as you know.
Right.
So it's something else. It's something else that you've got. And so that's where in my example of affordablegeorgiacabins.com has got the formula in there, right? The niche is cabins. Most niche sites are gone. If I went to try and get cabins.com, it's gone. I had to get that like 20 years ago. Right? But if you add geography, Georgia Cabins, that might be available. GeorgiaCabins.com. It's either taken or it was a premium domain. It might have been like $15,000 or something like that.
My God.
Because it's a good name and they sell them as premium domains, right? So GeorgiaCabins.com, which is combining geography and niche, may play out because $15,000 investment in my business is not necessarily unheard of, right? But then if you put the twist of a value system, it opens and unlocks the door here for niche and geography. And in that example, I chose affordable. Affordable GeorgiaCabins.com was available.
Right.
I could have done luxury. I could have done, hard to find Georgia Cabins. I could have done lakefront GeorgiaCabins.com. I could have done hidden. I could have done amazing. I could have done, anyway.
Is there a way to get there, like the Market Center website, which I don't want to use? Is there a way to direct that traffic to what we just did?
Yes, you're going to have to get with Realtor. You're going to have to get with who gave you the Realtor.realtor?
Well, no, I mean what I mean is that this website right here is not what we just edited.
Right. So what you would do is the domain that's pointing to that, you need to get control of that domain and point it to your Placester site. So you'd have to get with who sold you the Realtor, the .realtor.
So now they own this. They own this address too.
No, they don't own that address. Market Leader owns the physical address of that website. But who sold you the .realtor? Who was it?
I think it was the Atlanta, or I have to go look.
That sounds familiar, right?
But it was. I mean, it was. I think what concerns me is that even aside from the domain I bought, my business cards have this address on it because I didn't know before this class.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So how do I get the traffic directed from here when somebody looks at my business? There's no way.
You can't.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
Your
how do I
best-
edit this site to be the same as the other one?
So you really can't make them identical. There's not a way to do it. So what you're going to have to do, your best bet would be to put something in somewhere in the title that this site is moved. Here's the new web address, and put your new branded domain name.
So this one's not even editable.
It's editable, but it's limited because it's a template. So in this example, you might be able to. This is editable. Discover your dream home. So change your value statement there. Go into the control panel and say this website is moved. The new address is.
But that control panel automatically brought up kw.com, not this one. That's what's
I didn't
really
follow what you said. Say that again.
So when I signed into my KW
Mhm.
and it said go to my website,
Mhm.
this brings up this is letting me edit the kw.com website.
Right.
So
Right.
if I anything I say here
Mhm.
to direct I don't know how to edit this website. Like this was never
It's right here. Watch. So you go over here to my KW, and where it says right here under my marketing, you go to eEdge website.
Oh.
And you can go into the eEdge website. And now this is the eEdge. This takes you into the eEdge control panel, which includes the option of editing the website. Close that for a minute. Don't need to get into that. And here's the website appearance, theme, site images, pages, blog posts, content.
That was in let's see, where is that?
Yeah, it's on the main page.
What is this?
So this is,
The eEdge.
yep, this is the eEdge site. So,
That's not coming up for me.
so can you get here? To right here? Look, I'm highlighting it. Can you get to there?
Okay, my marketing.
Yep. Expand on my marketing and
Okay.
manage eEdge
Oh,
website.
okay. My manage eEdge website.
Yep.
And that's the different.
And
That's the different.
that's the second website that you've been showing me, right? So then you can go in here and you can change it. And so you may
That's
be able,
totally different.
and that's a pro. You can't change the page. You see site images, footer, communities, partners, recommendations, and options, listing search. Wow, they really, I knew this was locked down, but man, this is crazy. I can't get in there and change hardly anything.
And this is you're saying basically that soon this is just going to go away.
Eventually it's going to go away, yeah.
But in the meantime, I have 1,000 business cards with them on
In
address
the
on
meantime, you got 1,000 business cards, yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
a bummer.
That's what the intake
Mhm.
form says. So I thought the whole time that
How many
that
of those
was,
have you given out? 1,000?
No. I mean, I only got them in the mail yesterday, so it might even be worth just getting new
Oh,
cards.
well, yeah.
Right?
That's the silver lining, the fact you haven't given one out.
Yeah.
So you don't need to worry about redirecting
I
anybody.
guess not.
Absolutely not.
But in the meantime, I do have to contact the people I got the domain from to direct them
Right,
to the right website,
right.
Okay.
So that's
Wow.
actually great news
Okay.
because that you can control, right?
So you're glad you're here.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's been
Where's-
bugging me the whole time because I added my picture and I did all this. I had already done a lot, and I was
Right.
like, where does it keep going? It's gone, and I didn't realize they were two different.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
what's the second website? The eEdge. That's something that.
So it's a legacy product that KW about 4 or 5 years ago,
They
something like that.
had, but not.
They leveled up their e-agency system and added eEdge, which introduced a database,
Yeah.
marketing, and a website component, and everything was great.
Yeah.
That was all we knew. But then what confused the fact was about 4 years ago, Placester became the new website component. And what's confusing is it would have been one thing if Placester would have came in and became the new database and marketing and website, and they shut down the eEdge, right? But instead, it's still running. And that's where it gets kind of confusing because you're coming in, you're trying to figure all these moving parts out, and you realize, unfortunately, like what Angela's realizing
Yeah.
is, she thought one thing was what it was, and it wasn't. It was moved over here, I'll tell you another thing that's challenging with the eEdge is the marketing pieces. If you start using eEdge marketing without going in and customizing them, they point to the eEdge website by default. So if you go build your Placester site, and then you go do a drip campaign in eEdge and you just fire it off, then the call to actions and the clicks and stuff in the marketing will send the visitor to the eEdge website, not to the Placester website. So what you have to do is go in and you have to customize your marketing at eEdge and list your Placester site address as your actual address, as your marketing website. If you overlook that step, then people end up getting your marketing and going to the wrong website.
Oh my gosh.
Right? It's tricky.
Wow.
I know. But it is.
A lot of
But you're
stress.
following me. I can see the
Right.
light bulb going
Yeah.
off. You're getting it. You're realizing. So if you're going to do the marketing piece, look at this. If you go to marketing, if I go to view contacts, which brings me into the eEdge marketing system, and then go into account up here at the top, and go to my account. Oops, did I get it? Yeah, my account. I can override the marketing website. See this right here? And actually, this is really old. I need to update that. So what I would do is go in here and edit this, and I could put in http://www.scotthardy1.kw.com. I could do that, and that would lead them to my Placester website, right? But the problem is if there's something changes, then I got to go back over here and remember to change that. What makes better sense is to not be using these internal domain names given to me by KW and by Market Leader, but use only the branded domain that you buy through GoDaddy, which is why I was pushing for
Right.
come up with that domain name. Because if I instead supply an answer here and say affordablegeorgiacabins.com, right? That's a domain that I'm in control of. And if I lock that in, then I don't need to change that again at eEdge. And if in 6 months I decide, you know what, I think I want to hire a web developer to build me an amazing website, and I'm going to host it on their server, right? Well, when that website launches, then I would go to GoDaddy and say, okay, affordablegeorgiacabins.com no longer goes to Placester. I hired this tech who built me an amazing website, and now I'm going to redirect it that way. So you make the change at GoDaddy, right? Well, if I pass out 1,000 cards all year long that say affordablegeorgiacabins.com is my web address, and at the end of the year, I decide, you know what, I'm going to build this website custom, and I'm going to send traffic there, and I go to GoDaddy and redirect that domain name, my marketing stays the same, and they type in the same business card, magnet that's on a refrigerator all year long is still valid, even if I change my website 5 different times. As long as I keep control over my branded domain name, then, and that's what I put in my marketing, then I'm free to make changes all day long, right?
Yeah.
But if I put in the in-house domain,
The KW?
the smallest little change just disrupts all my marketing, right?
Yeah.
My branding. So it's important that you go and you get a domain name.
So you recommend that?
Right.
Yeah.
And so first and last name.com is usually a really good starting point just to establish some control.
Yeah.
And then as you start developing your marketing ideas and start realizing, wow, there's a dozen different domain names I'm going to get, you can control those and you can make them subordinate underneath the first one you got. So first and last name.com usually is a great place to start.
Okay.
It's a gamble, and we lost with Angela
Yeah.
because hers is already taken.
Yeah.
So you're saying, because I'm new to this, by the way, the
Mhm.
whole domain names, but let's say I did a first and last name,
Okay?
and in a year, I liked something else.
Yeah.
Right?
So brookhavenhomes.com
Let's
becomes,
say-
let's say you do that, right?
Yeah.
So if a scenario like that begins to unfold, one thing you can do is you could have both web addresses resolved to the same address, right? To the same
Okay.
to the same website,
Okay.
right? You could.
So when you type something and then it just leads you
Right.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you could say, you know what, maybe you've decided, maybe you woke up and said, brookhavenlistings.com, that is my business, that's who I'm going to be. So you go and you register that with GoDaddy, and you update that to point to your current website. Then you could go into your GoDaddy account where you registered Felipe, which was,
Valenzuela. See, that's
Valenzuela,
another thing.
right?
That first and last
Yeah.
name, I think it's
Yeah.
hard. for
I
people
understand that too,
Yeah.
although it is you though,
Exactly.
and so if you're marketing your spear, people are already softened up to Valenzuela,
Yeah.
right? So,
Sure.
but let's say though that you decided, okay, brookhavenlistings.com is going to be my business. So then when you make that change, you would go into GoDaddy into your profile and find the domain felipevalenzuela.com,
Mhm.
and you can edit it, and you can actually set up a redirect in there and say, now anybody, and that's what Angela was asking, Kim, is there any
Yeah.
way we can redirect
Yeah, right.
the market leader site? No, you can't, and it's because we don't have access to it. We don't have ownership.
Gotcha.
Compared to getting to GoDaddy, you could go to your first domain and you could set up a redirect because you do have full control, entitlement to all the features and capabilities because her mind is telling her the right thing. She knows the answer.
Right.
Right.
Redirect.
They just can't do it.
But we're not entitled to it. She's not going to
Gotcha.
get access to it.
Gotcha.
So you put the control in your hands when you go to GoDaddy or somebody like GoDaddy and register the domain. It's a smart play.
Yeah.
You can weather the different storm of changes that happen in your life, personally or professionally.
Right.
You got that control. Yeah.
So here I went to GoDaddy. I put my first and last name. It says $11.99 at the card. Is that like a month, a year?
A year.
A year.
Yeah.
That's not
Pretty
bad.
affordable.
No, it's not.
So
In fact,
you
I
can
don't-
create a lot of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
In fact, that's what a lot of people will do. So a lot of times people will they'll start out with one domain, just kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
But then, for example, for my website, affordablegeorgiacabins.com, if that was in production and I was really trying to build my business, I would also go get affordableBlueRidgeCabins.com, affordableBlairsvilleCabins.com, affordableJasperCabins.com, affordableSouthCarolinaCabins.com. I'd probably go get a whole bunch of domains where I hold on to my niche, which is cabins, and I hold on to my value statement, which is affordable, but I mobilize the geography. And so that way I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket and saying, okay, man, this Georgia cabins thing's got to work. You know what I mean? Because instead what happens is if somebody, the idea is to pinch a nerve and get that engagement, right? So if somebody's looking for a cabin in Blue Ridge, and they have a choice of going to, sorry, I messed up. So they have a choice of going, let's say they have a choice of going to BlueRidgeCabins.com, AffordableGeorgiaCabins.com, GeorgiaCabins.com, or AffordableBlueRidgeCabins.com. Those are their four choices.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in the market for a Blue Ridge cabin.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably going to hit all four of those, maybe, right? But you know they're going to make certain they hit at least that one that says affordable Blue Ridge, because I've got the right geography, obviously the right niche, and I'm introducing a value system that separates myself from the competition. Because all of a sudden, I'm laying something out for them to pick up. Like, yeah, I do cabins just like the other guy, but I make them affordable. I can help. I specialize in, do you know there's 3 government loan programs that if this is your second home and it's recreation and it's a cabin, you can get a 20% discount. Did you know that?
No.
Call me. We'll talk.
Okay.
I'm full of it, right? I'm just making that up. But you see how if you can bring that value system and really bring it, not just make statements like, hey, I'm the affordable Blue Ridge cabin guy, I can save you money, but really that becomes your business and you know ways to do it.
Yeah.
And you can become an expert in that and you can really bring that to the table. Then you can get, if you get testimonies and transaction history, one thing for you to say, it's another thing for somebody else to say it.
Mm-hmm.
So if they go to the website and you're making these statements, that's one thing. If he goes to your website, AffordableBlueRidgeCabins.com, and even if it is just a tier of AffordableGeorgiaCabins.com, it's just a section
Right.
where he can navigate and see everything. But if they get to that section that brought him in and they see testimony after testimony, like I'm so glad I called Felipe because we thought there was not going to be lakefront available, and he found the one house that worked.
Mhm.
Or somebody else says, hey, he found the best price, or we didn't think we were going to get the lending, but he used this thing called Keller Mortgage, which is brand new, and we had no originating costs, and it was a great value. If you start bringing these tools in like that, you know what I'm speaking of, right?
Mhm.
But if you get testimonies, now you're transferring that credibility. So the guy that visits the site just out of curiosity, like, well, I got to see what makes him affordable,
Exactly.
and he starts reading other people's comments,
That's right.
ideally, and if your testimony page says, hey, I'm ready to get your testimony in here. Let's call me today and let's talk, or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
To me, it's like you being a professional realtor, that your target demographic and you know what's going to motivate them, right? You should, right? If you don't, you got to do the research and figure that out. And it's just like fishing. I mean, it's just like going to a lake and saying, hey, I'm going to fish for bass today. You go to where the bass are and you drop bass bait in the bass fishing hole and you fish there.
Mhm.
And if you just want some bass, you throw one pole in. But you want a lot, you go to all the bass holes and you put all the bass bait in there. I know it's dangerous to say. That was a tricky statement. It's hilarious. But anyway, and you diversify your efforts, right? And if you want more than just bass and you want catfish, then you go to the catfish hole, you go to the bass place, and you go to where the flounders are.
Mhm.
And if you don't know how to catch flounder, you may have to go learn about that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But I think of it like fishing all the time.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
It's true.
I mean,
Yeah,
it makes it
for
sound
sure.
easy, right? Like we can have this all ready by tomorrow,
You
but
just fish,
it
right?
takes time, right? Yeah, let's go fishing.
Just buy fish
So
and pole.
anyway, I hope that's helpful.
Yes, very much so. I
Um,
just ordered new business cards and.
What domain did you get?
I need to buy one from GoDaddy.
Okay.
That's definitely what I'm going to do. But it looks too from the Placester site that I could add the one I just bought too. Is that right? Like I went into custom domain and,
Okay.
it said add custom domain.
Well, they don't sell the domain. You have to bring the domain to the table. So
But the one that I already bought, I could add.
you could,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So there's two parts to that configuration. There's the work that you do at Placester side,
Right.
but then there's stuff that you have to do on the domain register side.
Right.
And that's where you got to get the person who sold it to you involved, because you have to either have access to the control panel,
right.
or you got to tell them what you need. And what you need is described right here. If you go in down here where it says custom domain, and it says check out our step-by-step support article. If you click there, this is the specific information that you would need to give to your host. Now, these are written for specific hosts, like
Okay.
Bluehost, DreamHost, but then there's a generic one. HostGator, mapping, let's see. Oh, this is it right there. Look, mapping your .realtor domain. You need to take this information and get this to them. They probably already know it, but in case they don't, then these are the actual steps for their process, right?
Okay. Okay.
And they're all basically the same. What's different, the terminology and the protocols are the same, but it's the layout of the screen is
Right.
different, But basically, you would just have to follow through these steps right here. So, did you see how I got to them? So I went over here. I went to Placester. I'm going to step through it again real quick. So I'm at Placester right now, right? And I went to custom domain. Custom domain. And then on the right-hand
Right.
column, I went to the check out
Check out
step-by-step.
Okay.
And then I found the .realtor. There it is, the article. So you can have that information, and they probably already know it. So you start talking about Placester, they should know it.
I sent them an email and they just wrote me back and said, I see you were already successful in redirecting your domain to the site. So I don't know if it's like my already adding.
Well, try it. What is the domain you got?
Let's see. Homes by Angela.
Homes
By
by
Angela.realtor.
Angela.realtor.
Yes.
Let's see if they got it. Let's see if they picked it
Nope,
up.
that's the old
Yeah, so they're confused. They don't understand the success.
Right.
They think success was getting it to eEdge, but no,
Right.
the success for you is getting it to Placester. So you need to clarify. Say, no, I'm
Right.
trying to get it to Placester, and I need to map my domain. You need to map my .realtor domain to the Placester template.
one. Okay.
And then once they'll go and they'll update the DNS records. And once they've done that, then what you found over here under custom domain where you added my website, then that'll become a true statement. So you
Okay.
can put in www.
So I don't need to do that yet until they've gotten this right.
I used to think you had to wait until they did the DNS records, but I think you could probably go ahead and put it in now.
Okay.
And then when the DNS records are updated, it'll kick in. But if for some reason, let's say they update the DNS and 24 hours goes by and it's still not working, then maybe delete it from here and add it again.
So I need the domain to be forwarded to Placester.
Need to be mapped. Say I need my .realtor domain mapped to my Placester template. Please advise. Please advise if you can update my DNS records or
Not
something like that.
Edge
Yeah,
template.
and see what they say. Felipe, did you sign the sign-up sheet?
I didn't.
There you go, if you don't mind.
Got a quick question for
What you
you.
got?
I'm trying to go back to what to edit. And this is not going to be my. I was just kind of testing things out, but this right here, I feel like I put something, or there's something that's blank here that's throwing me off.
Yeah, it's going to be under menu. So if you go to Placester's control panel there,
Okay.
go find your edit site.
Okay. This looked different than before.
Okay.
Oh, okay. No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
good. That's good.
And
Okay.
menu. And then you're going to have a home button in there that's blank. So there it is right there. Open that up and see if it's a blank.
Yeah.
It is. The label's blank. So just remove it,
Okay.
and then save it. Scroll down and save. The final. Lock it in at the bottom. Yep, and that'll get rid of it. There you go.
Awesome. I gotta tell you, man, I learned so much about
I know.
computers.
Oh, good.
When it comes to this, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be tough.
I know, me too. Every time I log into the MyKW and it says you're not done setting up,
Oh,
I've been
yeah.
thinking it wasn't even an active site.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, wow.
Well, it is a long class, but I hope it's not a difficult class.
No,
No, I
it's
gotta tell you
really
that
good.
the time
Good.
flew by. You know,
That's good.
Yeah, it does.
I always
Some
think
classes where you're like, all right, is this over yet?
Right.
Here, I'm just like, wow, this is pretty interesting.
I
It's
always
really
think
good.
the hardest part is sticking it out, you know. But I'm glad to hear it flew by. That's actually very
Yeah,
cool.
seriously,
Really good.
that's cool.
All right, y'all. Anything else y'all want to talk about, or y'all think we're good?
I don't think so. I think
Yeah,
I got
I'm
work to
gonna
do.
get started on traffic.
Well, those of you on YouTube, if you've been watching, thank you. We appreciate y'all joining in, and thank you for those of y'all that showed up. And